Hey guys, this is Shin Lim. Thank you very much for purchasing 52 Shades of Red, second edition. This is the second edition. I used to have the first one about 3 or 4 years back. I've been performing it ever since, and a lot has changed. Now, the second edition, not much regarding the gaff principle has changed. It's still the same red and blue principle as you have seen if you had the first version. But the handling has changed, as well as gimmick construction. And also, the first edition completely ran out of stock. In fact, it ran out of stock 5 months after it was released. And only some magic shops had it. I had it. So everyone's been asking for it. And so I decided to reprint it, teach new handlings that I've practiced and created along with my friend, Mike Charles. He's going to be here later on in the tutorial. And yeah, so I'm going to perform the new version. It's much different from the first one. Just do a rough studio performance of it, and I'm going to teach it step by step, kind of like almost as if in a lecture. So I'm not going to actually go in depth into the construction of it, rather I'm just going to talk about the psychology and the actual method and movements behind it. And later on throughout the download, there will be different sections on how to create the gaff cards, the magnets. You'll see how to use the flap cards, of course, and the elastic thread and stuff like that, and where to purchase it, as well as, of course, the black art. So here we go. This is a rough performance or studio performance of the second version, or the newest version rather, of 52 Shades. So what you receive in your box is 52 Shades Gaff deck, and this is what it looks like. You'll receive the cards in a position like this. Of course, you have all the clubs, you have all the diamonds, and then the hearts and the spades. Okay. Now all of these cards here with the half-half red back and blue back principle and the half pipped and non-pipped, this is all part of the routine that I'm about to perform for you. And this is the part where it's copyrighted. Everything else other than the half red, half blank, such as the gaff cards as you can see over here, these are free to use, of course. So like the miniature card to the full card, that one is of course free to use, as well as these, the deck to single card. You'll see that later on. So this is what you get in your gaff deck. We're gonna take a look at the full 52 Shades routine, my act, using this principle. Okay, so welcome to the lecture portion of 52 Shades. Now I'm actually gonna, like I said previously, I'm gonna split the act up into a couple of different parts, and then I'll show the clip of the performances, whether it be here or maybe even the trailer or in China, and then I'm gonna teach it in here. And it's gonna be like a lecture, so I'm not gonna actually go in depth into how to apply the magnets or anything, because I'm gonna do that later. There will be different chapters for you to look and navigate through. The reason why I want to teach the act in whole is because if I break it up and start teaching you how to make the magnets and things, it's going to disrupt the flow of my teaching and why I do certain things the way I do it. I'm also going to be going over a lot of theory and my philosophy on magic and my thoughts on how to do certain things, pretty much. So as you saw in the first part, with the Ace Productions, we're going to show you a clip of what the first quarter of the routine looks like. So here it is. So that was the first part of the routine where, you know, I show the deck it's blue and then the 4 aces are produced. So I'm just going to go over that now. Majority of the act has to do with a concept called black art. Now what black art is, if you don't know what it is, the first time you're seeing this act, it's when you try to vanish an object, and it usually is the back of the object will be black or the same color as the background. So for example, if I'm doing a back palm with this card over here, and the back is red, it's going to be exactly the same material as this background, so that when I do a back palm, it's hard for the audience to see the vanish. And it can also be applied on the mat. So all these cards over here, as you can see, are actually right there. And it's very, very difficult to see it, especially if you're maybe 6 or 7 foot away from the table, especially this type of black art. I believe I'm the very first magician to ever use black art boldly like this. Mm-hmm. I've never seen another magician do it. They always, when they vanish a card, they always have their hand hovering above it, and then they would grab it and then they would ditch it into the servante. I believe I'm the first magician to always lay a black art card right in front of the audience, like that. I've never seen anyone do it like that, as far as I know. So this is it. I have the 3 aces right here. So you can see 2 red over here and 1 black. It actually doesn't matter the order of it. Again, I will go over how to apply the black art onto the cards, but just to inform you, these aces are regular aces with black art above them.
Now,
yeah,
what's the material you use for the matte and for the black art?
The black art, you can actually use this type of a material, which is velvet. You can use this, which is also crushed velvet, or this table, which is a mixture between crushed velvet and just regular velvet. You can use any material. The most important thing is that the material is the exact same. So, for example, let's say you're using velvet, right, for the matte, or for your background, like a backdrop. Make sure the card that you're trying to vanish is made of also velvet. And of course, make it the same color.
Right.
That's very important. So yeah. So
where do you get it?
You can get it at a lot of fabric stores.
Okay.
Yeah. Different fabric stores will have different types of velvet. A lot of different choices, actually. Yeah.
So for stuff around the Boston area, it would be like Joann's Fabrics.
Joann's Fabrics. Well, around all of the U.S. would be Joann's Fabrics. It would be Michael's. I think even Home Depot might carry some stuff as well. But I will have a link, an online link, in case those of you I know internationally who cannot find a fabric store, you can go online and purchase it. It's very cheap. It's only $5 for a yard. So I will have a link probably here or in the little PDF. You can find it as well. Okay. All right. And I will show you later on what my fabric looks like. So anyways, their deck of cards over here, as you can see, this is the Gaff deck. I'm not going to go into it right now because that's just going to confuse you. So I'm going to go over my 4 ace production. The first ace production is Leonard Green's Top Shot. If you don't know that, you can find that in Leonard Green's master file produced by Luis de Matos. It's a great collection of all of his moves, and the Top Shot is one of his most famous moves. And what it is, I'm not going to go over it, but it just shoots the top card into your hand. This top ace of spades is actually gimmicked. Of course, I will go over it again, but you can show the illusion of 4 aces like this, and if you release pressure, it turns into 1 card. So I'll show you one more time. You can show what seems to be 4 aces, and if you release pressure, it turns into a single card. It's pretty cool. I'm going to Top Shot this as a single card. So this is what it looks like that. It can be face down, or it can be face up. Just make sure you catch the card, like that. Notice what I'm going to do now. I'm going to actually lay this ace of spades on top of one of the black art cards like that. Now, I'm doing 2 things here. One thing, I'm getting ready for my next move. And another thing is, in case the lighting conditions are really bad, like maybe you're performing in direct sunlight, when you do the 4 ace production, the reason why I lay my ace of spades on top is because I'm using what I call, something I think I invented, is a visual misdirection. Misdirection usually is this. It's like you're using eye contact to misdirect their attention away. Maybe you're trying to top it a coin, you're trying to clean up or something like that. Or you're doing a hand wash and you're trying to misdirect them so they don't see the move, or even a pass. All right? Because my routine is completely silent and I'm not talking at all, and the camera is always focused purely on the mat, because I perform, of course, on stage all the time. Everyone's burning it. There's no chance for me to use misdirection. So I can't use any misdirection at all to cover the black art cards. It's impossible. So what I want to do is I want to do what I call, again, a visual misdirection, where I'm laying a brighter object, in this case the ace of spades, on top of a darker image. The human eye will naturally focus on the brighter image. So this makes you hide the black art card in plain sight, because it's right there, but they're not looking at it. They're looking at the ace of spades. So it's very important you lay the brighter image on top of your black art cards to help hide it in the meantime before you produce it or vanish it. And you're going to see this principle used all throughout my routine. And it's pretty cool, and it works. So as you can see, the second ace is produced like this, and I have the deck over here. I go there and produce like this. Now, a lot of people say, oh, well, why can't you just show your hands empty and then you produce it? The reason why I don't just flip it over like this without having to pretend to grab something is because when you make it too impossible, when you show your hands and you just produce the card like this, the layperson is going to look and say, okay, well, wow, first of all, you produced it with nothing. Right? Yeah, without any sleight of hand.
You're actually a magician.
Yeah, you're actually a magician. But the problem is, then they start to reverse engineer it. And then they say, okay,
It had to.
it had to come from the mat, right? And then they reverse engineer even more, and then all of a sudden, maybe they think of black art. You never know. Which is why I do this.
Camouflage.
Yeah, a camouflage or something like that. Which is why I do this. I pretend to grab something from the deck. I'm not doing anything. So when I produce this ace over here like this, instead of being magic, it's an extreme set of display of sleight of hand. Because that's my persona anyways. That's what I'm trying to portray is having sleight of hand. I'm not doing real magic. I'm just using pure sleight of hand. And so this, to a layperson, is like, wow, he's really good, right? To them, that is just as impressive. And when they reverse engineer it, they say, okay, it came from the deck, but damn, that was good.
Yeah.
That's what they're going to say.
How did it come from the
exactly. Now, at this point here, I produce the bottom two aces, right? And how I do it, of course, I think you already got it. When I'm laying this ace of hearts, I'm laying it again on top of the black art card. Again, I'm using the visual misdirection, all right, of laying the white cards on top of the blacks. And all I'm doing is I'm grabbing all four cards like this. Okay, of course, don't do that. And I'm just going to clip them and flip them over. It's very simple. And there you go. That's the 4 ace production. Okay, so you produce the 4 aces, and then here is the court card production as well as the McDonald's aces or Grandpa's aces, where it collects to the ace of spades. Here it is. Okay, so
Welcome back.
welcome back. Notice I spread the deck before I get into the core card productions throughout the routine. And the reason behind this is because I don't speak, of course, throughout my act. And so I need to subtly tell people this is a blue deck of cards. Because people forget,
Right.
honestly. And to them, you know, the colors of the cards don't matter. So that's why you notice throughout the routine, I'm constantly reminding them blue, 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 blue. I don't know if you've ever seen Fight Club, but there's a lot of moments in that movie where they are just subtly trying to tell you, I don't want to ruin the movie for you, but there's many moments in the movie that they show pretty much at the
A
end.
lot of foreshadowing.
Exactly. This is what that is. Yeah. And so this is kind of an obvious one. I'll show you another way I subtly show it's a blue deck later on. But anyways, moving on to here. I'm laying my aces on top of the court cards. You can't see it right now. The lighting is in a perfect condition right now for us, of course, because I'm in my studio. The court cards are right here. They're right below the aces, as you can see. So the ace of hearts is right above the queen of hearts. The ace of clubs is right above the queen of clubs. Ace of diamonds, of course, the queen of diamonds. You know, when you're making this routine, I know Dynamo performs, he opens his show with 52 Shades of Red. And his routine is very different from mine, of course. But I showed him my act, I taught him my act, and he changed it. It's pretty good, at least that's what I heard.
I was going to say, I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
so
actually I haven't seen it either, but I hope it's good. He does something with the 4 aces, but it's not with the court cards. This is just my version,
Right.
of course. I'm sure you guys can come up with your own version. Again, you know, please don't copy the act exactly when you're trying to practice it. You know, do it accordingly to however you want to do it. Maybe use jokers. I don't know, use blank cards or something like that. But for me, it's the court cards. So I have the first set right over here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up both cards and just shift it forward. So as if I'm, you know, shifting the card. Just the ace. It looks like I'm just shifting the ace right now, but I'm shifting everything. Yeah. I'm going to now pick up the ace, but I'm going to also pick up the court cards like this. Now at this point it's kind of risky. They could kind of see maybe
When you
the
say
black
like
card.
this, how are you? What do you mean?
I'm just holding all the cards
Okay.
as one in finger clip position, like that, yeah. And now I'm going to flip over the court card. Okay? And when I flip it over, I'm actually just grabbing the card and just flipping it over. It's very simple. But in the action of doing it, I do it like this. Here and out.
So you're using your right hand to give
To
coverage.
cover it. Yes,
for when you
exactly.
lift up.
Notice how my hand is always here like this. First, I'm also displaying it empty. But notice what's happening. My hand is becoming a shadow. Can you see that? You can see that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you can see that, but the camera won't be able to catch it. It's too subtle. My shadow is actually covering the black art card in case it will flash. I know with my studio lighting, it's not flashing right now, but in the live situation, in case it does flash, that's why my hand is forward like this to cover the sight of the black art card and also the lighting to make it darker, of course. So I cover like this. So I'm doing two things at once, showing my hand's empty and also being covered for the black art card. I shoot it out like this, and then I produce the court card. Now these court cards is very interesting. I'm going to go into detail later on in the court cards section, but they are actually magnetized. And of course, in the tutorial, I teach you how to magnetize these cards, so you can actually spin them as one, and you can split it whenever you want. So it's pretty cool. They're a trick in itself. You can do another routine, you know, with this principle. In many routines, you can do like a really cool color change like this. Many different things you can do with it. So once more, empty, 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 boom, like that. You do the pirouette, and then you split. Okay, so it's pretty cool. Now the aces also have the magnets on them, and I will go over that as well later on in the same section. So that's why you notice the ace is magnetic, so I can actually join them together like this. Okay. Ace of clubs is kind of the same thing. I believe we came up with this at the same time, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to lateral palm now the court cards. And this is how I do it. I pick up all three cards, just like before.
Brilliant.
Lateral palm now as I display the ace of clubs. Kind of a misdirection in a way. But even if I do flash, it doesn't matter because it's blackguarded.
As
Right.
long as you don't show windows from the bottom.
Yeah,
fine.
it's fine. You can't see it at all. And I could show my windows if I wanted to, but you're not going to see anything. It's too hard to see it, and you're not expecting it, especially if you don't know the concept of black art. So I show the ace, and now as I'm waving the ace over my hand, I'm going to produce the two court cards, almost as if the ace is painting over the cards. So one more time, I grab the ace and the court cards as one. I use my left hand to gesture. As I gesture, I lateral palm. Okay. Leonard Green has a lot of work on the lateral palm. So again, the master file has a lot of tutorials on how to do that. You get into lateral palm position, and you just paint over the cards.
And essentially, like when you say lateral palm, can you explain how you're holding that?
Exactly. Yeah. It's like this. So it's being clipped between the pinky and the fourth finger, and my middle finger is now going to clip the top end of it.
Okay.
So it's now going against your palm,
Gotcha.
like this. It's a very relaxed position. It's important to be relaxed. So as you can see over here, I show both, display, and now I have it like that, but it's clipped.
Gotcha.
Right? You can also do tenkai if you want to, but for me, I feel tenkai, your thumb kind of vanishes. I think lateral is a little bit more relaxed.
And you need your thumb to push the cards down.
Yes, that's
and you
true.
paint it over.
Yeah, so it's just pushing it down and splitting. Yeah,
Gotcha.
like this. Same thing, same position. I leave it sandwiched. kind of have the same theme going on. Now this last one is actually the most trickiest and hardest because there's a 80% chance of hitting it, but a 20% chance of failure.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay, but it's very good and it gets the best reactions. All I'm doing, the black art card is of course right here. All I'm doing is I'm actually just flipping over the card. That's all I'm doing. But when you do it very fast, this is what it looks like that. Okay.
So do you want to show it revealed? So
Sure, yeah. So it's laying right here, and I just flip it over like that. That's what it looks like. So in this position, it's just practice. It's just practice. So you're just flipping over the card. There's nothing to it. There's actually absolutely nothing to it. It's just very difficult and very risky. But with enough practice, you can hit it.
I don't know why you listened to me on that one.
You know what though? I get the best reactions. Actually, one time in one of my lectures, literally one guy left the room. He said, "No way!" and he just walks out. The reason why is because he didn't know the principle of black art, and he thought I was just really good at copying cards. He thought I was copying the card the whole time. He thought I just did this and it took the card.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was so funny. He was freaking out because when you don't know the concept of black art, especially lay people, when you vanish those cards, they just go nuts. They're just like, what is going on? Yeah. So you produce the cards and you lay it in the same position, like that. Now I collect the cards up like this again. I lay it down because this next portion, cards are going to start flying on this side of the mat. Yeah. So like I said, because of the way the magnets works, this ace of diamonds will naturally vanish behind the queen of diamonds. So, like this. I'm going to take the ace, and I'm going to shake it. As I shake it, my thumb just shifts the queen above the ace, and it naturally locks in position.
Because of the magnets?
Yeah, because of the magnets. So like this. And now I just throw nonchalantly. This next one's a little bit more impressive. I lay the ace right next to the queen, like that. Okay? And when I let go, you notice the ace is just going to shoot in. But that is the most impressive way to vanish the ace of clubs. I don't want to do that. I want to do it in a throwing action so that maybe somehow I could have either lapped it or some sleight of hand occurred. Okay? It's only at the very last vanish that I want to do it the most magical. So then I go like this, I put a lot of pressure on it, and then boom, and it's gone.
Because that's your build-up.
It's your build-up, exactly. And this is actually very important. I'm going to talk about it right now because this theory and theme of building up slowly, getting better and better as each vanish happens or as each magical moment happens, you'll see that throughout my routine, all throughout, whether it be this part or the next part or the previous part. Each appearance and vanish keeps getting better and better throughout the routine. You'll actually see this little graph in my act. You won't really see a straight line because that's a little bit too boring. And you'll notice the build-up also is has bumps. So if you notice, so I'm gonna.
That's what the pauses are for.
That's what exactly. So as you see here, there was a slight pause before the vanish, right? But it wasn't that impressive of a vanish. So maybe it's like this much, right?
You're on the climb.
Mm-hmm. This one vanished very quickly, so it's kind of going down a little bit, right? It's not that impressive. And this one has a pause. I paused maybe 5 or 6 seconds almost, not doing anything. And this pause is very important because you're lowering their expectations now. And then when it vanishes, all of a sudden it jumps up. So you're making people's emotions almost like a roller coaster.
I don't know. In my mind, as far as like the movie making aspect of it, I see it as the first one was quick.
Yeah.
Okay, what's he gonna do next? Okay, now that one's gone. He's gonna do something with the third one. So that pause is kind of like the
anticipation.
It's
almost like in
all right, oh my god.
Yeah, it's almost like
I mean?
it's like a scary movie.
Right.
And she's walking towards the shower curtain, and then she opens the shower curtain, and a monster just jumps out at you. Right?
Yes.
That's what it's like, and that's that moment right there. And you're gonna see that moment all throughout my act. I do this on purpose.
Or she opens the shower curtain
and nothing, and you'll see that later.
And then when she looks in the mirror,
and she looks behind her. Exactly,
you know?
Exactly. And this theme and way of doing magic is very current throughout all of my routines, even in my other acts that you'll see, because that's the only way you can make people's emotions feel real. And makes them feel like they're not even looking at a magic trick anymore.
To have those pauses.
Yes, it pauses and crescendos.
Yes.
Is very important. regardless of where their motions are going, you want it to be bumpy. You want them to have a rocky roller coaster wave of emotions, because if you don't, then it's just a boring act. You know, it's a boring routine. You know, there's a lot of manipulators who just produce so many cards, and while it's amazing and really cool, this is what their routine looks like. It's really high up, but it's like this.
And it planes.
It planes. You want, I don't want to say make your act really bad in the beginning, but my act is really not that magical to begin with when I'm starting. All I'm doing is I'm just going like this, and I'm displaying the deck. Yeah, there's really nothing going on in the first like 3 minutes of my act.
No, you have a beginning, a
middle, and an end, and all throughout there's a slow crescendo to the very end, of course, with the climax.
It's almost like telling a story without speaking.
Yes. Yes.
You have your beginning where you're setting it up, then your middle part,
and
then your end.
Sorry, tangent. But we'll be going on a lot of tangents because I believe it's very important to talk about the theory behind the act. Yes, I think that's very important. So we have this portion over here. I am going to teach you how to make this later on, but it's the 4 aces that come with your gaff deck. Okay, it's actually usually in my back pocket. When that last ace vanishes over here in the queen, I drop it like this. I trickle down with this gimmick, remember, as the 4 aces, the card that collapses by itself. I show, back and front, and now I'm going to clip these cards over and do a card switch, like this. And now ditch. I ditch this underneath. So I'm going to go that now in slow motion. So this is behind my back pocket, like this. As I'm using my focus and the pause over here, I go up, I relax, and I bring this down. My hand is grabbing this card and copying it in position. And now the aces assemble here. As I go to flip over this card onto my hand, I wrist kill it upwards, like this. Like that, okay? So it was here, and I wrist kill and bring it up. So now I have this position here. Okay, so
you're essentially just bringing the 4
I'm bringing the 4 cards
over your thumb,
over my thumb, and onto it, into dealer's position now. So it used to be cop, or some, I don't know what this is. This is some, I don't know, whatever. And then I bring it over and up. It's a little bit angly, but again, I perform this for camera on stage, so for me it doesn't matter. Yeah, but I'm sure if you're performing it live, which you can, I do this live during my lectures, and people are 6 feet away from me, and they still can't see it, because with proper misdirection you can hit it.
Well, because they're so focused on this ace.
What just happened? Yeah, what happened there?
Then the ace is showing up here. All they're seeing is you gathering the aces and putting them on your hand. So yeah.
So you have the break here. Now we're going to turn over everything. At this moment, 2 aces are going to flash, but my hands are going to cover it like this. Okay. And now I'm going to use my pinky to grab that bottom ace. Now I have another break. And then now I just servant it into my servant, bring it forward, and now spread. 4 aces like that. Okay? And this concludes the Grandpa's Aces or McDonald's Aces version, where that's where it was inspired from. Yeah. Aces moving from court cards over to collect under the ace of spades. Let's move on to the vanishes of the court cards. So that was the court card vanishes, and this is how it works. Now, if you saw my old 52 Shades of Red, the version 1, I used to vanish the cards like this. Like that, right? Now it looks great.
That.
Yeah, you remember that, right? But it was so repetitive. Well, okay, you know what?
So many hours of.
I know. Well, but that's the thing. The thing is, I justify myself for having such a bad vanish was because I only had a day to come up with it, the act.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the only. It was my very first time messing around with black art. My very first time creating an entire act in one day. So this was my least of my worries.
Right.
And so that's why I came up with a vanishing card like that.
This was the first time you went to China with it.
Yes,
too.
yes.
Yeah.
That was my very first big tour. So I have to thank Mike Miller for that. He took a big risk on inviting me over, and it was a success. It was a very good success. I started off from the bottom, being the first, being somewhere in the middle of the tour, like performing in the middle, and my act grew as well as my persona, and they ended up having me headline the show.
That's huge.
So it was a really good learning experience for me. So, anyways, these court cards are of course black. Yes, we all know that. We don't want to vanish it like this because that's too obvious. Again, they can reverse engineer it and say, okay, something is up with the mat. This is how I usually do it. I tend to do a retention vanish like this, and then I just drop it onto the mat, but I keep my hands closed. I do another retention vanish, I drop it onto the mat again, and I still keep my hands closed. I move forward, keeping my hands closed the entire time, and then they vanish. So the moment they're vanishing is away from the mat. It's very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And away from you, so.
And away from me, yeah.
Yeah.
So in a way, they say, okay, maybe when he did the retention vanish, he lapped it, and that's what a lot of people think. They're like, holy crap, this guy's the best person at lapping cards.
But another thing is, even then, your retention stuff is in the middle of the table, so that's what.
Yeah.
Makes
So it's really
nice
hard
too.
for.
So
yep.
it's not close to you when you're doing it.
Exactly.
It's at the middle, so you're just taking it from very hard to do to impossible to do.
Yep. And then they try to reverse engineer it, and they're like, wait, but it vanished, especially for lay people. You know, when your hands are closed, they still think that the card is in there.
Absolutely.
Magicians, of course, we know, there's the fake thing of having a card, pretending to have a card, but lay people, they're like, oh, wait, no, the card was there, I swear it was there, and then it vanished mid-air. So that's what they tell other people, which is great. So anyways, you relax, and you notice I kneel down onto the ground. I don't want to do that because I'm too comfortable in my chair right now. So I just relax, I go down, and now the cards are dropping into my servant. That's what's happening. I drop in my servant as I relax, and now I pick up the next two cards. This is going to go into Tenkai Palm. So I'm going to bring these cards into Tenkai position. I'm not going to hold it in Tenkai position. And I'm also not going to keep my hands open. I'm going to keep them closed like this, and I drop the cards again on the table and move forward like that. And the cards vanish. So same thing, one more time. They go into Tenkai, right? Then they drop onto the mat. I move my hand away, and they vanish again once more in the air. I relax. As I point to these two cards, I'm cleaning up the table. I'm moving all my cards into the servant, and I point.
So you want to turn those cards face up so the camera can actually see where it's going?
It's a little hard because it's a felt against felt right now, so it's not going to go down as smoothly. But I will show it. So here they vanish onto the mat, as you can see, like this. But my hands are forward. Now, as you can see, actually on the camera right now, my hands are actually covering the court cards.
Right.
As you can see, even though they're white, but I'm covering it with my hands. So you notice when I do this with a black card, I'm actually still doing that. I'm using the same concept of visual misdirection, making them focus on this side of the frame as opposed to this side of the frame. This again misdirects them with their eyes as opposed to their brain.
Because when you move from here to here, that's where the shift is.
Exactly.
It's shifting from this being a frame to
like this. So now they can't see the black card, even if they wanted to. Even if the lighting conditions were really bad, right? And it vanishes up here. And once again, this is actually one of the most powerful moments. And then I relax, and this is what it looks like when I clean up. I grab the card, and it goes into the servant as I point to these two cards. And this is the last one. This one I do have to kneel. So I'm on the ground, and I believe, was this yours or was this mine?
The drop was your idea.
Okay, the drop was my idea. Okay, so this card is genuinely going to drop into the servant. I'm going to actually genuinely put this card in my hand. It's going to drop into the servant, but what's going to cover the drop is what's happening with my left hand. this is going to follow at the same speed while this card drops, okay? It's going to follow the same speed and then vanish onto the table. So it's very simple. You're just retentioning it and then dropping onto the table. Now, a lot of people say, oh, well, you know, isn't the card vanishing too easily? Can't people tell it's going to be on the mat? But my thoughts on this is because they have two things to worry about. They have to worry about the card in this hand. So they're saying, okay, what about this hand? Did this card vanish? So I'll show you what I mean. I close in my hand, again, I drop it as I follow it, right? So you didn't see that drop. And in their mind, what vanishes is up here, not down here. It's up here, because that was the last vanish they saw. So that's what they remember. Right. So in their mind, the card is actually vanishing up here, both cards. And so for them, they're like, okay, it didn't vanish on the mat. So to them, you know, it has nothing to do with the mat anymore. So once more, I'll show you what the drop looks like. I close in my hand, and this card is going to follow the same tempo as you can hear the card just dropped, right? So you got to practice that in the mirror. So you go here, and you drop it like that. And you can see it
basically looks, we'll do it slow motion.
Okay.
So I'll hold this one.
Like this.
And then
down. Like that. And goes into this front. A lot of timing involved in that. A lot of practicing in the mirror. But
what's nice about this is the way it's clipped is a black art. So even if you are a little bit ahead,
it's fine. It'll be fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyways, I really like this moment where they actually genuinely think it vanishes up here. And they are completely, they forget the fact that I just dropped the card onto the mat. They do.
Right, because this is gone. So now they're only focused
now they're just focused on my
hand.
closed hand, exactly. Yeah. And so the same principle of, you know, a black art card vanishing up here is pretty awesome. So now we have this. This is what this is I actually genuinely have 6 court cards on the bottom of my gaff deck. These are completely normal cards. They're not gaffed in any way. So you can mess around them, manipulate them however you want. Now,
do those come with the deck?
No, they don't.
Or, so
you just buy
blue bicycles.
Blue bicycles. I believe this is a maiden back. It comes with the maiden back, the new version, because Bicycle refused us to use the angels. So they were like, oh, you have to use the maiden backs. But the maiden backs, honestly, they look very much like bicycles.
Okay.
Yeah, and lay people will not know that. They're not going to say,
I didn't notice.
Those bicycles, they're not bicycles, those are maiden. They're not going to say that. No. So we have the 4 normal core cards. I used to do flourishes to produce them. But yeah, I don't know if people remember, but I've gotten lazy and I decided not to do it.
I got really lazy and just dropped them off.
Yeah, now I just drop them off like this. I just do this and I drop the cards like that. Alright? And I do a fan to show once more, subtly telling them the deck is blue and it's normal pips. But this is something very important. I'm reversing the order of the deck. Notice what I do. I go here and I close the fan. When I close the fan, I'm reversing the order of the deck. So now when I spread it,
spread red.
It's going to spread red, exactly. Too many people do this. They show a blue deck and then go like this. And then now it shows red. You got to do things in subtlety. Subtlety is very important. So you show it. Not only am I showing the deck is blue and pipped, I'm reversing the order. So I'm doing 2 things at once.
And if you can't close the fan with one hand,
you can close it with 2 hands.
You can always close it
like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's perfect. You lay it here, show the card's normal, and now what's happening is, notice the black art card, King of Diamonds, is right there. I have the King of Diamonds on the bottom as well. So when I'm laying it on top of the black art card, I pick everything up. As you can see, there's a consistency now, yeah? Now I'm going to lap everything onto the servant. All I'm doing is I'm lifting up the King of Diamonds forward, so I'm copying everything, and then I just lap it. So from the front it looks like this. I lift up the King of Diamonds, so everything else is copped. You hear that? Yeah, you can hear it go into the servant. Of course I have music playing so they can't really hear anything.
Right.
Yeah. And now this is the last vanish, so there's only 1 card. And usually I do this vanish, like this. This is what I usually do on stage. When I'm in front of a camera, I vanish the card like that. But if I'm performing in front of live people with many different heights, eye levels, I do this. I just do the regular retention vanish, like this. And it works just as well. It just goes back onto the mat. So I'm pretending to grab all the cards, and I lay it on top of the mat, like this, as you can see. But again, all 6 cards are vanishing up here, right? So that's what you can do when you're completely surrounded. It's just a different way to vanish it, because this is a very angle sensitive way to vanish something.
Extremely.
Yeah, but when you're on stage, dude, the reactions are just. This is one of the best reactions I get. I get gasps when I do this, and this is how it works. This is a stage move. A lot of stage magicians use this. They use this to produce other things, like maybe a ball or something. It's clipped on my first fingers, like this. So as you can see, I can actually manipulate my hand. And all I'm doing is I'm keeping my hands closed, so there's a big difference when it does vanish when I open my hands up. Okay, so it goes like this. Now, the black art works well because if I overkill my hand wrist, let's do that one time. If I overkill my hand turnover, like this, the black art will blend in onto my black shirt.
Right.
Now, as I pick myself up, I'm going to ditch the card into the servant and push myself up to the ground. So that gives me a justification of, ditching the card onto the servant. And that is the vanishing of the court cards. Yeah.
So far, what we've covered is the production of the aces.
Yep.
Production of the court cards.
Yep.
The vanishes of
the grandpa aces, yeah.
And then
the vanishes of the court cards, yeah. And you notice each subject got more impressive as it went on and more complex.
Right.
There's more things adding up and more things going away. Because if your routine doesn't get more complicated, it's like a movie that doesn't have more conflicts that occur. It's like a movie that's always happy and nothing happens. And every good movie has a lot of complex things that constantly build up, like Inception. If you notice in Inception, as each minute goes by, they're a dream within a dream, and then all of a sudden they're in another dream, and all of a sudden they're in another dream, and then there's this other thing, and that other thing that's occurring all at the same time. And that's what makes a great movie, is when there's so many things building up.
Right, and even if it's just a classic case of good guy versus bad guy, you still have, like, when they clash, that's, obviously the big piece, but there's still other things going on, like within the villains.
Exactly,
like,
within the good person. Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
and that makes things more complex.
Exactly.
You're right, but in the beginning, of course, they just show the good guy, and then they just show the bad guy. Same with my act. Right. I'm just showing a blue deck of cards. Oh wait, 4 aces came out. And then it starts to build up from that. And yeah, so let's move on to the next piece.
Here we go.
This is the color changing deck part of the routine, and this whole time I've been showing a blue deck, and all of a sudden, boom, changes red, and it kills. Because the thing is, when people see a color changing deck, even lay people, they go, oh, okay, he did a deck switch somewhere. Somewhere he must have done a deck switch.
But over here?
But over here, there's no deck. They know you never took the deck anywhere near here. It never went out of view. It's in plain sight the entire time. Which is why I freaking love this routine so much.
This is why this routine destroyed my life.
Yes.
Before I knew how it was done, I was just you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Killed me.
And and another thing is you show the deck blue right before it turns red. And here's here's what I mean. So the 4 aces, the top one's a flap card. Again, I'll go over how to make the flap card later on. And so you're picking up the 4 cards like this. And what a flap card is the flap that's going from one side to the other. This flap card is made a little bit differently from most flap cards. Most flap cards go from front to back, kind of like this, right?
Okay. Yeah.
My flap card is going this way.
So instead of front to back, it's
side to side. The reason why it's side to side, there's less to clear, and so for close-up situations, it's better because in a stage situation, doing this, there's too much to clear. It's maybe like 2 inches, 2.5 inches. This is like 1 inch. Yeah. So the flap just goes much faster. That's just it. Another thing is a lot of people when they do the flap change, they go like this. they uncontrollably have a fit. they have a little fit when it changes, and that's not what you want. You want, well, for me, my persona is slow, right? So I go here like this, and I just slowly wave over. Okay, not like that. So they slowly wave over the card like this, and it just looks so much better. It just doesn't feel like a gimmick. It feels like real magic almost.
Yeah. And what covers the move is your
my fingers.
going across.
Notice how it's just my fingers that's just going across, and that still looks beautiful. And on camera, and when you project it on screen, people are just like, "What?"
Even when people are
even in person.
When you do lectures,
Yeah.
it's so unexpected
Yep.
that
You don't feel a
you
flap.
No.
You're not feeling it. Yeah.
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 It's very. Even if people have seen it on camera,
Yeah.
seeing it close, I feel like people expect different things.
Yeah.
So when they're not seeing it projected, they're seeing it fresh
For real,
the first time. It's still surprising to people because.
Well, I love it when people always come up to me at lectures and they're like, I saw it on YouTube and I thought this can't be done live, and damn, it looks better live. It's true, it looks better live. It's beautiful. Anyway, so this is just one portion, of course, and then the flap goes off like this. Of course, the sound won't be heard for me because I do this to loud music on stage. No one's gonna hear an elephant drop, anyways.
even in lectures.
Even in lectures, my music is placed. And this is the loud portion of the soundtrack, so they're not gonna hear anything. Anyways, now what I'm gonna do, because this way, as you can see, is blue, but if I reverse spread, it's red, right? So I'm gonna grab the packet and reverse spread like this. Okay? And then I show the aces now. I pick up the entire deck. In my routine, you notice I do this right before I do the color change. I'm just riffling through the deck just one last time to show it's the blue deck. Yep. I'm now going to magnetize the top card. This top card is magnetic. It's just a blank magnetic card. So I'll teach that in the tutorial again. And it just goes right into the ace of spades. And this is how it looks. I clip it up like this to have a gap. My thumb's now going to just push forward. And so now it's so up like this, as you can see.
So you want to do that from...
maybe this angle is better.
There you go.
So you can see a little gap right there. And now my thumb's just going to push in.
So you're essentially getting a pinky break.
Yeah, that's all I'm doing. I'm just getting a pinky break.
On the top card. And then pushing the whole thing.
Like this.
So you're pushing that
pinky break card, yep. And I'm doing it in an action of an up and down motion. To cover this thumb.
That.
Yeah, because if I don't do that, my thumb is just all of a sudden like having a fit. Yeah. It's like like that. No, you don't want that. So you just pinky break, of course, up and down. Simple. Okay. I spread it once more, and that blue card's not going to flash because
it's magnetic.
It's magnetic, yeah. It's attached to the ace of spades, which I will explain how to gaff later on. Now, because of that fan I did before in the previous video, you can just rewind to see how it reverses the stack. But now when I spread it, it's red.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And it's wonderful.
And the way, just to review real quick, the way that's done is by reversing the fan.
Yeah.
Once you do that, and that's in the chapter before.
Yes.
So
yep. Exactly. And when I spread, don't overspread. I like that. When I spread it, I like to try to cover the whole mat.
Right, just to get it very.
It just
to get
looks,
visual.
yeah, just a visual, nice display of everything. Don't do that as well. Okay, just.
It doesn't look like you're hiding anything with it spread out so far.
Exactly. It's beautiful. Anyways, you collect it up. And at this, the reason why I like this so much more than maybe using a Svengali deck or something like that is because you can handle this like a normal deck. You can spread it like this and it's red. You can do a lapel spread and it's still red. You cannot do that with an invisible deck. You can't do that with the rough and smooth or a Svengali. This because these cards are completely normal, except if you, of course, if you overspread. So yeah.
Now, somewhere in your performance, I saw you do a wave with the cards.
Ribbon spread turnover. Yes, this is another subtle way to show the cards red, but to also reverse the order. It's really cool. I'll show you what I mean. So I'm spreading the deck, right, like this, but I'm keeping my left hand underneath the bottom card, and now I'm going to do the the ribbon spread turnover. While this shows that the deck is red and that there's pips, notice what's going to happen.
No way.
Yeah, it's a subtle way to reverse the orientation of the cards, while at the same time showing the pips. Of course, as you saw with your gaff deck, it's half pipped, half blank. That's the principle. I'm sure you already know. Like that. It's beautiful.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I'm doing two things at once again. I'm being productive, I guess that's the word.
Yeah.
There's a better word for it. I just can't think of it right now. But yeah, so I'm just showing, pips.
You're getting a step ahead, essentially.
Yeah.
You're eliminating extra moves.
There we go. I'm eliminating extra moves, and always try to do that with any of your acts. Because a lot of magicians, they always have unnecessary moves all the time in their routines. Especially stage magicians who try to steal a packet of cards. You can just, some magicians, you can just see all of their steals.
Sometimes.
Yeah. It's the good magicians where they're doing something and stealing at the same time. So everything is justified.
If you have a trained eye, you can see when somebody is misleading you. Mm-hmm. But if you have a reason to go for something
into your jacket or onto your side,
there always
like
has to be a reason.
Like Yoo Jin, for example.
Right.
He's
There
a
has
really
to
good
be a
example.
reason.
Yes, and he's a perfect example of perfection. You cannot see any of the steals, or at least a layperson can.
Right.
Anyways, so now I have the deck in this position. When I spread, it's going to be blank. What I want to do is I want to shift the bottom card, which is blank. This is a regular blank card. I'm sure you received some. To the top. There's many different ways you can do this. How I do it is the longitudinal color change. Okay? I will teach this later in the DVD. You can see a little bit more in depth in my shenanigans video, because that one I have a lot of different sleight of hands moves. It looks like this. I'll show it very briefly, like that. Okay. You can also do the clip shift. That also moves the bottom card to the top. There's many different. There's the bottom palm, I think. This thing here. I don't do that at all. And then there's the side steal off to the top. There's many different ones. And now, of course, the deck turns blank, like this. And then you show the aces blank. Okay? And that ends the first half of the routine. Okay, so they just saw the climax with the ending and the box vanishing and everything vanishing at the end, right?
Box vanish, I think, this time compared to the first
last
time,
one, yeah, is much better, of course.
great.
Yeah, unfortunately I won't be teaching that in 52 Shades. Unfortunately, it's a separate project.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought we made this for 52 Shades.
Yeah, but I decided to put on
else.
something else. Yeah, as an individual effect, because there's so many different things you can do with it.
That's very true.
You can turn the box into money. You can turn the box into a Tic Tac box, anything.
All right.
Yeah, but I will teach a way to vanish the box. I'll teach the old way.
Okay.
The same old way. Yeah.
Sure. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry to bust your bubble, but so anyways, they saw this portion where the deck turned blank. But you notice I actually take a pause. If you've seen my live show, I pause at this point and I take a bow. The reason for this is very, very important. You notice in a movie, and I like to relate this to movies because that's what I'm trying, that's my attempt, is to make an audience feel like they're watching a movie. If you notice in a movie, right before a huge climactic moment happens, there's always a moment of pause. A movie I just watched was Saving Private Ryan. I've seen that probably 20 times. It's my 20th time watching it. If you've never seen it, watch it. Make sure your parents are there if you're under 18. Right before the climactic moment where the soldiers come in and attack the city, you know, with the bridge. Mm-hmm. Remember, you've seen the movie?
Yeah.
And there's like a good 30 or 20 minutes of them just sitting around telling stories and not doing anything. Remember, they're just resting, and there's nothing going on. It's because it's the calm before the storm. That's super important in anything, even in any theatrical performances.
I mean, even another movie would be like A Day After Tomorrow.
Okay.
Thing. They talk about in the movie. They talk about the eye of the storm and how when a storm starts, there's just really bad wind, rains, whatever. But then the eye of the storm brings that calming peace.
Okay.
Before the second.
I see. Interesting. Yeah. So yeah, this is that calming, because a lot has happened in the routine. There's many bumps. It's going up, and now you do need, in every magic routine, in my opinion, in any movie, in anything, there needs to be a moment where there is a plane, where there is nothing going on, and this is it. This is the part where nothing's going, because everything just turned blank. So you need them to just relax for a little bit.
Sink in everything.
That just happened. So you have to have a plane. If too much is going on, if you're doing crazy card manipulations just constantly, people are just gonna get tired. They're like, I get it. You can produce cards, but
it's an overwhelming.
Yeah, it's
of
like
the senses.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
People don't get a chance to just take in like, wow, that whole thing was blue, then it was red,
exactly,
and now everything is just
white.
Gone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so this is that moment. It's very important. So make sure when you're creating your own 52 Shades version, you have moments like this where they're just resting and pausing and not doing anything. Sometimes you don't have to do anything. You're just doing this with your hands, or this. Yu Ho-jin has like a little hand manipulation with nothing, just his hands. And honestly, that in itself is beautiful. People appreciate that. Some people do. Anyways, so you notice I collect up the cards like this, and again I do that subtle reversal of showing the cards blank and red, but look what happens. Reverse the orientation, lay the deck down.
So you're ready to do.
Exactly. So when I spread it, the pips appear.
Gotcha.
Same thing, but this time I just reverse. I just reverse the cards like that.
Okay.
But for me it doesn't really matter, because I don't have to be too subtle with this packet of cards. No. I feel like I don't have to be.
No.
Yeah, not at all. So I don't do that.
Well, you have to be subtle in some senses.
All right, so I lay the cards on top of the mat. At this point, I'm doing something called SSS. What this is smoke is coming out from the mat. This does not come with 52 Shades, but it does definitely look pretty damn beautiful. And what it is it's sleeveless silent smoke. It's completely silent. I'm going to bring my mic next to it, and you can't hear anything. And the reason why is because SSS does not have a motorized pump. It's a manual pump, and thus there's no electronics to worry about failing on you or breaking. Okay, so this works all the time. I use it all. I use it all the time.
Used And a lot of other magicians.
A lot of them. Jacob Trencham uses it. Uses it completely sleeveless when he's standing up without using a mat. Of course, I do teach that in SSS as well. But a lot of people use this. And those who know that it has a lot of potential, of course. Anyways, so I used SSS, and now I'm going to bring the top card into the servant. This is how it works. I'm taking the... it smells like cherry, I know. I'm taking the top magnetic card into the servant, and all I'm doing is I'm just waving like this. Okay?
Yeah, so basically, so essentially, because the mat is felt, it'll catch the corner of the
it works with
cards
any mat too, actually.
as it goes.
Yeah, it works with any
Even
mat.
then.
Yeah, and
then
I'm
you're
just spreading it
ditching
like
the blank
this.
card.
Yeah, I'm just taking the blank card and putting it to the servant. So one more time, when I place my hand down like this, the smoke kind of just disperses, which is really cool. Yeah, and then now I move my hand into the servant. As you can see, the card drops in there. You can see from your view, you can't, but I'm sure you know how to do it.
But you want to continue that motion.
You want to continue this motion because I'm sliding here, and now I'm showing my hands empty again, and now, boom. Right? Same thing. And this is just, of course, a regular blank face card, which comes with your package. So this, it's a beautiful moment. It goes into the servant one more time. And now I'm just going to spread, show all the pips, because sometimes I don't actually have enough space to, if I were to spread it, if these aces weren't here, I would totally go all out and spread it all along light. But my mat just does not have that capacity, so the real solution is I should buy a bigger mat.
The real solution, if you really wanted me to, can I?
Yeah.
If you do want to do the full spread, once you ditch the cards down here, come across, with the other hand, move these aces up to the front.
Yeah, but for me, my timing was just not right. Timing for me wasn't right, yeah. But anyways,
not everybody's doing the...
Not everyone's using my music,
not everybody will be doing the same routine.
No, I'm copywriting this, so they can't.
Just kidding. You'll never be able to do the same routine.
Yeah.
So, that could be an idea for you.
So you show your hands empty, and then you do the change. Again, I'm moving this into the servant. I can do this, spread it here, and now at this point, I'm going to reverse everything. I'm moving it backwards, collecting up the cards. I show again red, but my hands are now going to kind of risk kill, right? And this is the double facer card, red and blue. And all I'm doing is I'm just flipping it over like this. Very simple. And same with the flap card. But I'm doing this all behind the cover, like this. And now I can show blue. It's very simple. It's almost self-working. Like this. And now, at this point, I'm going to use Gondek. What Gondek is the ability to show a single card, turn it into what seems to be a box, they can vanish, and then now I vanish everything else. I won't be teaching this. It does not come with 52 Shades. I apologize. It is going to be in a separate product that you can receive. I will teach you how to do the original box vanish, which I used to do in the old 52 Shades. But
which one?
The very first 52 Shades I came up with. The one where I back palm.
Okay.
Yeah. But this is just the Gondek gimmick, and the Gondek gimmick has a black art piece behind it, so of course it just vanishes, right? At the very end. And I want to teach the psychology behind this. So after I servant the entire deck, I'm left with the Gondek gimmick, right? And in the beginning of the routine, I actually have all the cards in a card box. So when you make the deck turn into a card box, like this, in their opinion, the whole routine is done. Because it's like as if you're putting the cards back into the box. In lay people, you're done. They're not expecting anything else anymore. So at this point, they're like, oh, well, oh, very good. And they start to clap their hands and everything like that. And it's almost like when you think the bad guy is dead in a movie, right? So you're like, ah.
Here comes the sequel.
And then all of a sudden, boom. They're not expecting that. So they're like, oh my god. And then you kick them again when everything vanishes. So you're again messing with their emotions and their feelings. Much like how a scary movie would do when you think the bad guy's dead, and all of a sudden it comes back. And then something else happens again.
So that's
that moment.
Is a lot of the sense like, I'm done, just kidding.
And just kidding.
I'm really done.
Yeah. Exactly.
I like that.
That was when I was coming. That's why I chose to do Gondek as opposed to my previous deck vanish, because Gondek allows me to have all these different moments of pushing and shoving and pulling back, pushing, pulling back. It's very important. Yes.
This is actually the third vanish you came up with.
Is it?
For this.
I have
Because the
another one?
second one was when we had the box just
Oh yeah, you're
disappear
right.
into
You're
the
right.
mat.
Yes, and that to me was
So-
too direct.
This is actually the third one. And
Yes.
honestly,
You like this one better?
I like this one a lot.
Because the psychology behind it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, it definitely makes people feel more. Because when you just vanish the box, it's too direct. It's too
For your character,
for my character. Yes, it needs more.
For a lot of, personally for
Yeah.
myself, I think, or for those of you who, want to do it a different way, that putting it into the box and having it go is kind of a way to, I'm done for good. That's the way of showing the box, like the completion, the cards going back into the box, and then the box just going away. Because then you're left completely, clean, and people are happy because you left off in a nice little bow. You wrapped it up nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Where this ending plays with people.
Yes, yes, you're
lot.
you're manipulating with them.
Yes.
That's all you're doing. You're telling them, "Oh, I'm finished." "Oh, no, I'm just kidding." "Oh, no, I'm just kidding." "Okay, I'm finished." And it really gives people a roller coaster of emotions in this case. The same thing actually, and I will talk a little bit about this in the Dream Act, but I'm going to mention the Dream Act. In my Dream Act, the one I did on Penn and Teller, you'll notice there's a lot of moments where, for example, if you have seen it, maybe you haven't, I could have a link of it actually here on the bottom, but you have the card in the plastic bag, the first signed card, and then they change it into the second signed card, and then I go up to here, and they think this is going to be the card. They're like, oh, no way, it's that card. And all of a sudden, nope, it's not. And it switches back. That is that feeling of they're expecting the other card to be the signed card, the other signed card, and all of a sudden it isn't. So when that happens, you're pushing, and then you're pulling all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So there's there's those emotions of expectation, and then you're taking back their expectations. So you're making them feel those little bumps. And it's the same. That's what this ending is.
Which is, I really like it.
That's what this ending is.
I really like that.
So that was it. That was 52 Shades. That was just a rough lecture of the whole routine done. But now I'm going to go in depth into how to construct the little pieces in the routine.
So Here comes the construction.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Here he goes.
Thanks, Mike.
Glad I could help.
All right. Okay, so welcome to the construction portion of this tutorial. Now, this is, of course, the ready-made cards, the core cards. We have 3 sections, the hearts, the clubs, the diamonds. And here we go. So let's get right into it. So we're going to start with the hearts. Now, again, with the fabric, it's fabricexchange.com. You can buy any sort of fabric, felt or velvet or anything like that. And preferably black. Of course, you can order in the bulk by yards. It's only like $5 per yard. Of course, you can also go to Joann Fabrics or any sort of other stores like
Arts and craft stores like Michael's
and stuff like that. Yeah. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be pasting the black art above these cards, much like you can see over here. But in between the black art, we're going to be placing magnets as well. Okay. So we're going to do the hearts. And you're going to apply the same principle from the hearts to the clubs and the diamonds as well. And I'll be doing this entire thing in front of the camera. What you want is a piece of cardboard or newspaper or something you don't care about, because what you're going to do is you're going to be using adhesive to make this sticky. And this is a black piece of fabric we have right here. Go on the other side and then spray and apply. Very simple.
Now, what do you use for an adhesive?
This is called 3M Loctite Adhesive Spray. There's another one called Scotch. Of course, I'm sure everyone knows. Okay. Scotch Spray Mount. This is just an adhesive. It can either be a professional hardcore adhesive, or it can be also just a weaker form called repositional adhesive. Okay, so let's get on to spraying it. First, we want to make this gimmick where the Queen of Hearts connects to the Ace of Hearts. So we're going to work on just the Queen and the Ace. How we do this is first we want to apply the magnets that you've been provided. So just 2 magnets, right here as you can see, onto the Queen of Hearts. Where we want to place them is very important. We want to place them right on the faces like this, okay? Because then we're going to cover it up later by splitting a card. Now I'm using actually a plastic queen right now. I'm using a plastic bicycle deck, actually. But you don't have to use a plastic bicycle deck. You can use a regular. This is regular, by the way. This is using a regular bicycle deck right here.
So for your regular performance, the one you did,
I use a regular
cards.
Yeah. Okay. But if you feel like it, you can try plastic to see if it works, which makes it last longer. Of course, you don't have to replace the cards at all. So, but here we go. So let's begin. So you start by placing a little dab of super glue right on the faces of the Queen, and then you place the magnets right on the faces like that, and wait for it to dry. Now, the type of glue I'm using is called Loctite. Loctite glue, that's my favorite type.
I use that too.
Yeah, they have many different types of Loctite branded glues. Some of them are gel, some of them are, I forget what you call them, but just regular.
Quick drying.
Quick drying, yeah, exactly. So now this is this is not exactly super quick dry. I would say it's just
because it's a gel.
It's a gel, yeah, but it seems pretty spot on there right now. So you want to take the other ace now, and this is very important. You want to square it perfectly onto the Queen, like this. Take 2 other magnets, like this. All right. And now you want the polars to match perfectly, and this is how you do it. You just let go. And there it is. It's kind of matched perfectly. And you take the super glue, and then you just dab the glue where the magnets landed. So you dab the glue there, and let go. Dab the glue there, and you let go. Like that. And you let it dry. And as you can see with this Queen, I have actually darkened the edges like this. I take a Sharpie and I just darken it like that by going over with a Sharpie marker over the corners of the card. Now, I don't know if you can catch that on camera, but this is actually used a lot in stage magic. Stage magicians who do back palms and stuff like that, they use this technique to help black art, help the concept of black art. You're going to do the exact same thing with the Ace of Hearts. Take the Sharpie and color the edges black. It's okay if you have a mark over here in the back, just make sure there's no marks on the front, because that's what the audience sees. Yeah, good. Let the Sharpie ink dry, because that takes a while, especially on plastic cards. They take much longer to dry than as if you were Sharpieing a regular cardboard playing card, because just the way the ink works. So once you let that dry, we can actually continue with the King of Hearts. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to actually magnetize the King according to both the Ace and the Queen. So actually you can take the Queen, place it over the King like this. We'll Sharpie that in later. Take the magnets that you've been provided, and just stick it onto the back, like that. Glue it down, glue it down. And again, wait for a couple of minutes for it to dry. Once it's dried, you can separate the 2 cards, test it to see if it works, and yes, it does work. Now we want to Sharpie the edges. And then wait for the Sharpie ink to dry on the King of Hearts as well. while that is drying, we can do something with the queen. What we want to do is, because since the queen is the only card that actually has the magnets that is flashing, essentially, we want to cover that up. This is the finished product, as you can see over here, and you can't really see the magnets because I have covered it up with a split layer of another Queen of Hearts. I'll show you what I mean. Go to a regular deck of cards. So this is just a regular normal bicycle deck. You have not been provided with one, but I recommend you can just grab any deck of cards in your house, especially ones that you haven't been using, and take out the Queen of Hearts. Now, I believe you have the maiden deck, maiden back design, not the bicycle back. But it's okay because we're not using the back design of a bicycle, we're using the face, and the faces are all the same. In fact, you can even grab, I'm sure, a Queen of Hearts from an aristocrat deck or some other deck of cards that have, the same facial features. Maybe not the color, but the actual drawing is all the same. Next, we're going to actually split the playing card. How we're going to do that, there's two ways. You can actually split the entire card by just tapping it and splitting the entire card, or we can cut out the image of the queen and then we split that. I'm going to do it both ways. I'm just going to cut it out first and then split it. So right now I'm cutting out the face of the queen like this. And proceed to split it. How we split it, there's many different ways. You can use an X-Acto knife to split the layer, the top layer of the card. Or what I do a lot of the times is I tap this on a hard surface, tap it a couple of times, and I use my fingernail to split the topmost layer. Like this, as you can see. I'm getting the topmost layers. Playing cards, they have 3 layers. They have the top layer, a bottom layer, and the middle layer. So we just want the top layer. So as you can see, I just got the topmost layer. Grab glue stick. You can also use rubber cement if you wish. I prefer using glue stick because when you apply it, you can actually shift the piece to align it perfectly before the glue actually dries. And now we just apply. I didn't get the corner here, it needs to be a little bit more glue. But now, I doubt you can see this on camera because the magnet is completely covered and sealed. Like that. At a certain angle, you can kind of see a little bit of a raise, of course. That is only natural. But honestly, when you're performing this either on camera or in person, and they're not looking for a magnet, they will not be able to see it at all. Okay, so that's the difference between the magnet there, that is not covered, and of course one that has been covered by a split card. We are then going to repeat the action again with the other side of the card, right here. Okay, so we cut it out once more. Tap it on a hard surface. This is actually not that hard, so I'm going to tap it on the scissors. Use your fingernail to take, again, the most top layer. If you want more insight onto splitting cards, I highly recommend going to Theory 11's Blake Voigt's tutorial, Split Sessions, I believe that's what it's called. He has 2 volumes, and that's where I learned how to split cards, and honestly, he's probably one of the best at splitting cards. So can go on over and check that out. So I've split this layer now, and I'm going to paste it on to here. Of course, make sure all sides match, which they do. It's quite easy, especially with court cards. It's easy to match the designs. And the good thing about using a glue stick is that you can always reposition it without having to make a final decision. So, for example, if you've ever used rubber cement, once you stick it on the card, it's kind of stuck, and when you do have to peel it apart, it's kind of messy. So this is really nice because you can keep repositioning it in case you're wrong. The only difference is for it to dry, you have to leave it for maybe a good 30 minutes for it to fully dry. So don't touch the card, or else it will start to separate. Okay. What you can do also, if you want to be 100% sure, you can actually use super glue, just a very little amount, and just kind of dab it all around the sides so that you make sure they don't crease upwards, okay, so they stay completely still the whole time. So now we test it out. We know that the Ace of Hearts is what's going to go behind the Queen of Hearts, right? Which obviously it is, so it's doing pretty well. But what we want now is the black art. This is the hardest part. You want to take something called an adhesive spray. There's many different types. There's one called Loctite. Okay. There's also one called Scotch Spray Mount. This is all just the same thing. It's all an adhesive. Now there's different strengths. There's medium, low, and hard. This is the low strength. This is the extremely tough strength. And I've used both, and they both work well. There is no difference because once it dries, it dries. I believe that the only difference is it just takes longer for this to dry than for the harder one. So I'm going to spray just the Ace of Hearts, because if you notice, the Queen of Hearts here does not have the black art, only the Ace of Hearts. So make sure the Queen is obviously laying away. Make sure you have, again, a surface that you don't care much for. And we're going to spray paint. Not spray paint, sorry. Use adhesive. So make sure you have your black art material ready for you to just put it on. Take the card and you lay it flat on the black art. Like this. So as you can see, the Ace of Hearts is now sitting here. Some of the liquid has gone over, and as you can see, there's little smudges here in the Ace. So you're going to actually take an X-Acto knife and kind of score out the little marks. Or you can use whiteout and white it out too. Or you can leave it. I mean, then it's just a dirty card, right? Now we do the same thing with the King. So we're going to spray the back of the King, and then we're going to apply it again on the black art. This time I'm going to use this spray right here. As you can see, it's a little bit less messy and probably won't cause as much of an overflow. Another good way to do this is you can actually take a book and just place the book on top of the cards. This way they kind of are flat. Or take another deck and just push on top like this. So you lay two cards like this. You just push it, and you take a big book and just lay it down, or you can actually just stand on it. So now we're going to cut around the black art felt that I have here. There you go, this is pretty good. So this is officially a black arted card. Now we need to clean this up, of course. This is kind of dirty still. We need to clean up the little overflow that's occurred over here. So once again, you take just a knife and then just kind of score the card. But let's cut up the King as well. So now, as you can see, these two cards have a little bit of smudges right over here. The King has very little, so I'm just going to leave that alone for now. We're going to take an X-Acto knife and we're just going to score away these smudges. Be very light It's okay. If you're using a plastic card, don't score too much because you're going to cause a lot of scars. If you're using a regular playing card, that's fine. Regular playing cards, again, have 3 white layers, so it's okay for you to score the card. Now, if the liquid if you apply too much spray, too much adhesive spray, and it kind of soaked into the card, it may have passed all 3 layers and you'll have to do it again, because then the smudge will look too obvious. But for now, all you do is you just lightly take an X-Acto knife. And you can see I just kind of scratch away. So as you can see, I've scratched most of the smudges away. I think there's a little bit over here at the corner. Kind of get the remaining color off this. And there we go, voila. So after you've scored all the cards, make sure you kind of wipe. You can even take a towel and just kind of wipe away the little felt pieces, the felt lint that's on the cards, because that happens a lot, as you'll see. And so this is the finished product. So this is the queen. Of course, there's no black art. The ace is on the black art, and the king is also black arted. So for my routine, this is what all the court cards look like. So I repeat the same process with the diamond and the club, and that's it. And this is actually majority of the work. So this is how you do the sandwich portion, like this. And then of course, you know, the cards vanish like that on the black art mat. So this is the finished work. We just made the black art cards, of course, with the queen and the king. They're right here. Okay. Oh, sorry, the queen and the ace. The king and the ace. Yes, I know my routine. Okay. And then there's the queen of hearts over here, of course, without the black art card. Yeah, it looks great, and it obviously is applied well. Again, make sure you use the same type of fabric, you know, the black fabric with the on your mat. It's just a regular mat, same thing. I applied the 3M spray and I place it onto the mat, and then as you saw with the playing cards as well, all the same technique. Now another thing you can do to keep the black art cards from flashing, the white portions, the white border, sometimes it can flash, especially with the queen of hearts. So, or whatever card you choose to use. You notice over here I have Sharpied it black, just in case the card warps through temperature. So you notice what happens. I'm going to place this over. Right now it's not flashing because I already colored in black, but in the case that the card warps, the border actually can flash beneath that king, even though there's magnets. So in case it flashes, this is like backup, okay? Or you can just buy black backed queen of hearts. I don't know if they even sell those, but I know the Knox have a black back, so you can like Sharpie in the borders, and then the black is black, so you don't even have to care. So if the card warps like this much, you know, you're still good. But yeah, so that's it. So once again, there's many different ways to, of course, produce this one where I just flip it over like that, and then the other one where I just take the card out and then I split it, or of course the last one where I get into lateral position and produce the 2 cards. So that's it. This can be an effect in itself, you know, the sandwich where the ace vanishes in between. Be sure to look into that because it's really cool. There's a lot of different things you can do with this concept. Even like, for example, a color change, you have a card palm like this and the card just changes like that. You know, that's really cool too. So many different things you can do with this concept. Play around with it, and I know you'll have a blast making your own version of this 52 shades. Especially this black art concept. So, all right. So this is the portion where we have the flap card, of course.
Ah,
yeah.
yes.
And for me, it's applied onto the aces.
Okay.
But it may not be applied, you know, on the aces for other people. Maybe, you know, in their routine, it's somewhere else. For me, I place it on top of the ace of hearts. Okay. Of course, you've seen the gaff cards. Right. They have that in their possession. You've been supplied with double-backed cards, double-backed red and blue. So how this works is the blue side is the one scored and the one being folded, and then being completed to show a red. I'll show you what I mean. What we're going to do is we're going to score right down the middle the blue card. I have something called the perfect score. You can find it at any magic shop or anything like that. It's perfect to get a nice little score. If you don't have that, all you gotta do is take a ruler and a knife, align it, and score it. But this just makes the process much easier. So I'm just gonna take this, Just go right down the middle. And there it is. I kind of have a perfect score just like that, right down the middle. Yeah, it's really cool. And then you take another blue card, like this. And we're going to glue this down. One corner onto one side, like this. Okay? And essentially this is how a flap card works. It just goes down. That's it. So what helps it go down is something I called Prim Elastic 200. I'll have a link for you. You can get it. It's only $2. It's very cheap. And those of you who live in Scandinavia, you're able to find it at any arts and crafts stores. In the US, it's not available. You have to buy it online. But I will have a link for where you can get it, yeah. It's a very useful tool. I use it all the time, yeah. Now what you need to do is you're going to need to super glue this side onto this side. So we get some super glue. Once again, I'm using Loctite. Just dab a couple of dots onto the side here, like this. And now make sure, this is very important, it has to align perfectly. If it doesn't align perfectly, you have to do it again. Because it just won't look good when the flap is completed. This. So it goes here, when you release pressure, the flap goes down. Now we want to connect these two together. How we're going to do that is we're going to take a hole puncher. And this is a very tiny hole puncher. It's like a 0.002 millimeters in diameter, kind of like a needle. It's the same diameter as a needle. It's just that I don't like to use a needle to poke a hole. You can do that. It just takes a lot of strength. So this makes me lazy. Okay. So you poke a hole here, poke a hole here, on both ends of the card.
So if you essentially have a sewing kit at home,
you're fine. You don't need that. Now we're gonna get the 200M sewing thread. Again, link is in the PDF. And we're gonna do something that I believe only I do, and I'm gonna double thread it. Double threading is like this. I'm gonna put it through the needle. As you can see, like this, in and out. And I'm gonna leave it parallel. So you can see the thread is parallel right now. Okay, so every time I go through something, it's going to be double threaded. This makes it last twice as long, and believe it or not, last almost forever sometimes. I've been using my same flap card for 2 years, like I said previously. It hasn't broken on me yet, so you know it's lasted very long.
So now, when you're stitching this up, what did you just do? You brought it down through one, and then brought it up through the other?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So now I'm going to super glue the thread down. A lot of people, they tie it up, and that's wrong. You should not tie the thread. You should just super glue it, because when you tie it, it leaves room for the thread to untie itself. You don't want to have any. Yeah, you don't want to have any room to for failure at this point. You always want it to hit. Just kind of dab it down, like this. And my super glue is not super fast drying, so we're just gonna let it take a while for it to dry. So we'll just have a lovely conversation.
Sounds good.
Now, as you can see, this thread is obviously white. What you can do is you can take a red Sharpie and kind of dab the thread where it's not supposed to be white, where it's supposed to be red. Same thing with this crease. As you can see, this crease over here is obviously having a very white crease. Where it's supposed to be red, you can take a red Sharpie and just dab very lightly. I taught this on the first DVD, so those of you who do have the first one, you'll understand why it's so important. It seems to me like it's somewhat dry, so now we take the other end and pull on it. Okay. And then super glue it down. And wait for it to dry as well. This one is probably going to take another 30 seconds. Any questions?
Yeah, you punched the holes right on the corner of the red piece on the other side. Because these are white, would you be able to punch it further out?
No.
So that it would go with
No,
the light?
it'll flash.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll flash. The reason why I punched it at the corners is because it'll camouflage it in a way. After you believe they are fully dried, you're going to snip the edges of the remaining thread clear and throw them away. And there you go, you've just made yourself a pretty good flap card, but you're not done yet. How I make my flap cards, the reason why I believe they're so good and long-lasting, the reason why mine lasted so long is because I applied magnets to them as well. So not only do they have the power of thread, they have the power of magnets to attach it. So, I'm going to take 2 magnets, super glue one over here.
Which is in the center?
Sort of the center. It's like right where that little the spade design is, like right there. So if you just take a card and you just kind of match it up.
Okay, so pretty much right in between.
Yeah, dead center of where the string
is.
is.
And then just in front of it.
Yep. And on the other side, of course, this is a double backer, right? So
right.
Let go. Kind of estimate where the magnet landed. Super glue, and done.
Okay.
Super simple. And now, what you want to do is this. So we want to cover up the magnet, and we just split the card by doing that, just like we've always done.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just like we did with the queens, we'll do the same thing here.
Yep. Tap the card on a hard surface. In this case, my scissors is the hard surface. You pick at the topmost layer, just the red layer like this. You can see like that. And now we go on a hard surface. This is supposed to be hard. Right now I have a mat. It's actually not that hard. But I've been doing this for quite a while, so I don't really need the proper surfaces for this.
Now, whenever I try and tear a card, I get it either close and then it'll rip in the middle,
right?
Or how do you?
Yeah.
What's a good way to go about?
As you're splitting the card, obviously this layer is on the table, right? You use your 2 fingers, you split a little bit, and as you clear it more, you keep putting more and more fingers on it to give it support. If you keep your first finger here and just split zzz all the way, it's not going to have enough support and it's just going to die.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would a ruler, if you like put a ruler on?
You have to use your hand.
You have to use your hand.
Yep.
Okay.
Just cut around where the magnet is. And you do the same thing. Just use a glue stick.
And then line up the back design, just like we did.
Just like you did, yeah.
Queen
exactly.
Earlier.
Exactly.
I see. That's almost invisible, and I'm sitting like right here.
Yeah, I know. It's
That's awesome.
How cool is that?
That's awesome.
It is invisible, especially with the back design. So when you're out here like this, sorry, I'm off camera, but you can't see it.
See anything.
You can't even see the thread.
No, you can't see the thread. Yeah.
It's only if you know what to look for. It's easier to find it.
Right.
But lay people, they don't know what a back design's supposed to look like. Like when I've actually used a Phoenix deck and a bicycle deck side by side in the same deck, and to them it was the same. They did not know that a Phoenix card was not supposed to be inside a red bicycle deck.
Some people are just more observant than others, and
lay people, I don't think it's only magicians. Only magicians know the difference. Yeah, I mean, that's why, like, if you're using a maiden back design with an angel, maidens are just slightly different, but they don't know the difference at all. Yeah, it's just a magician thing. Only we get anal about that sort of stuff. So now what we're going to do is I apply my Ace of Hearts. Again, my Ace of Hearts is connected to the flap card. Your routine, it may be different. Okay, so I hope it's different, because if it's the same, then I'm not going to be too happy.
Well, what would you recommend as far as going to a different card for the flap card? What do you mean?
Well, I don't know. That's for them to decide. Yeah. Because for me, it's yeah, that's for them to decide.
Okay. So this flap card could essentially be attached to
anything,
any
of the gaff cards, yeah.
Any one of these cards,
or even like a queen of spades or something. Anything really. It doesn't matter.
Because it's just showing the change.
Yeah, you're just showing the change.
Blue?
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe let's say the Joker. You can say in your pattern, oh, the Joker's the wild card, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and then so since that card's the wild card, that's what changes, into a different color. So anything, you can really think of anything. So apologies for the tangent, but now what I'm doing is I'm using rubber cement, and I am rubber cementing the back of the flap card in order to conjoin this with whatever card I want to be the color changing card. So in this case, it's the Ace of Hearts. So rubber cement, I'm sure you are familiar with it. If you've had my products before, I use it all the time. Rubber cement, you apply it onto two different objects, wait maybe 5 minutes or 4 minutes for it to dry, and then you combine both objects together, thus gluing them together completely. And we wait for it to dry.
So while we're doing this, how do you, when you're going over this, you can do this design, the flap design on either side. Won't matter,
Yeah,
right?
on either side, it doesn't matter. But preferably, well, because I provided double backs.
Right.
If it's not a double back, then obviously
you can't do that.
So now that the rubber cement has dried, I'm just going to conjoin it together. Because rubber cement adheres completely instantly, we want it to be exactly perfect. Okay, so regardless of whether you're using the Ace of Hearts or you're using the Joker or anything, this concept applies with everything. It has to be exact. If it's not exact, you're going to have to do the whole thing again, which really sucks and you don't want that. So be very careful. It's better to just take your time and just wait and do it rather than be hasty about it and then to do it again.
And if you're not sure about whether you can get it exact or not, when you first apply the rubber cement to both cards, you can put them together and it is still kind of pliable, so you can still line it up, but
very little.
This makes it a lot more clean.
Yeah.
If you let it dry, because then you don't have to worry about the globs spilling out the sides or anything like that. So
this is it. That's the flap card. Right? Of course, you can hear the sound, but with music, you can cut it out. Now, the only reason why there is a sound is because of the magnet. If you don't have the magnet, then you're not going to have a sound. So it's up to you. You can choose not to use the sound, not to use the magnets at all, or choose to. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's it. So now you've made your flap card. This is very useful for everything, as you well know. Let's move on to the blank card. So here's the blank card. This is the finished product. You can't see anything. It's the magnets are inside here. So all it is, you've been provided two blank blue backed cards, and it's very simple. This is probably the easiest part. Is we're going to rubber cement the back of this and the front of this.
So we're not going to have to split the cards this time or anything. They're just going.
Going straight together. Yeah, nice. It's super easy. Rubber cement, like this. Now rubber cement the back.
Now when we put the magnets on these cards, where are they going to be connecting?
To the Ace of Spades.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So we're gonna. All you have to do is when you take the Ace of Spades, remember the same thing. You just let go of the magnets and they will connect automatically. It's pretty easy. Yeah. So for this, make sure the polarities are the same. Place them there. this, there, this, and place them maybe around. Let's see where these were. Around there. Okay, so you notice that the Ace of Spades that comes with the Gaff deck actually does not have a spade in there. Now, while that's okay, I actually wanted to print it with the spade, but Bicycle, being who they are, they have a bunch of copyright issues, so they gave us a lot of trouble for it, and unfortunately we could not print it. However, that's okay, because we're actually going to use this Ace of Spades as not a duplicate, but rather a hiding mechanism for a regular Ace of Spades. As you can see in my performance, this Ace of Spades was actually magnetic. It was attaching this blank card into it. And so that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to actually magnetize this Ace of Spades so that it will click onto the blank card. Okay, so all you have to do is take the two magnets and match them according to the blank card. So all you have to do is, once you let go, the magnets actually click automatically like this, and then all you do is you take rubber cement, paint it over this portion, and the exact same thing on this end, rubber cement, wait for them to dry, and as you've already seen previously in the tutorials, you stick them together, and then there you go. You'll have the Ace of Spades with the backing, of course, with the magnets inside, after you have plugged in the rubber cement. Remember that the ace production that used the top shot?
Yes.
And then the four aces like that, and you can let go and then you can vanish. We're gonna make this. It consists of just the regular four aces. None of these are plastic cards, they're just regular, regular cards. We're gonna leave the ace of clubs and diamonds aside. We're gonna take the ace of spades and the ace of hearts. We're gonna use those. What's gonna happen is we're gonna actually combine and poke two holes where the spade is, as you can see over here on the camera.
So
one hole at the top.
Home, there's one hole at the very tip of the spade, and then one hole in the very bottom. Center of the bottom.
Not the at the center bottom.
Center.
Yep, exactly. So we're just gonna poke holes there. Okay. So I'm gonna poke the hole first.
So get your sewing kit back out.
Yeah, I wish I had like the needles that had little balls on top, so it didn't hurt my hand. But yeah. So I just poke here. Here, as you can see, top and bottom, and now we can join the cards together.
Repoke the holes.
And repoke the holes. This. It's very important to make sure they're
lined up.
Lined up, yeah. That's the hardest part. This, and I believe they are. So feels good. Take maybe a smaller needle. And essentially, these aces, the ace of clubs and ace of hearts, that's not a real card. All I did was I just split the ace of clubs and ace of hearts and I pasted it on to this side. That's all I did.
Really?
Yes, as you can see over here. So let's show that to the camera. So just here, touch it. It's on there, but it just gives the illusion.
So like all three cards are
fake.
Just pasted on.
Yeah, so when you spread it like this, it's like,
that's,
they're like, wow.
Ridiculous.
And on the back is the same thing. See, look, as you can see.
No way.
It's cool, right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. So we're going to do that right now. So we're going to split the ace of clubs and ace of hearts. So we're going to take the ace of diamonds, we're going to cut it up in a little strip, kind of as you can see over here, right? And then we just tap it on the hard surface. This, and split. So we're going to take the topmost layer out and just go along very carefully. I like to actually cut out what I need to split and then split the card, as opposed to splitting the whole card and then cutting it out. Because I have more control when I'm cutting a full card as opposed to a thin layer like this. Yes. Or this is actually a third. A third, yes.
Yeah.
So, anyways, take the ace of diamonds, lay it there. Same thing with the club. Cut out the club. Around here. Okay, so we're going to tap the cards, as you can see. I'm going to split them like this. And make sure you have a hard surface. Now, I was doing it on the mat just now, and it was kind of iffy and didn't really work all the time. So make sure you have a hard surface. I brought my iPad here. So, and again, same techniques. Your finger, down, and giving it support, as you can see. As I give it support, it's going to tear easily. Okay. Same thing with the ace of diamonds.
Now you're giving support on the thinnest layer.
Yes,
on
yes.
The bottom.
That's the layer we're getting.
So, right.
Yeah.
See, that's what I've been doing wrong. I've been trying to peel the thinnest layer.
Oh, no, you don't want to do that.
Okay.
Then you didn't learn from the right person, whoever
No,
taught you that.
I did not.
Okay, so, same thing, glue stick. Glue stick the ace.
I just thought that's how you peeled cards. Never.
Oh, you just pull on it?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
That's how I was messing up so much.
Yeah.
Now I know.
Yeah, you get so frustrated if you did that.
Yeah,
I would get
aggravating.
frustrated.
It's aggravating.
Okay, good.
That's crazy.
So, it looks like a... It will give the illusion of
It'll
a real
look like
card.
a real
It
spread.
will, yes. It will. It's beautiful. Now, I've cut this one a little bit on the thicker side. I believe so. So I'm just gonna trim it down, actually.
You didn't do that the wrong way, did you?
No. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which is the bottom ace. It doesn't.
Oh, because, yeah.
It doesn't matter.
That was,
Yeah.
Sorry.
We can cut it out.
Right, because then the ace of spades is going to go over that.
So as you can see now, I have the three aces.
Mm-hmm.
I made sure I avoided the hole so that the needle can still go through. So as you can see, without here,
Awesome.
right? We want to cut off some of the edges right here because it kind of makes the card look thicker than one card. Like that. And now what we want to do is we actually want to do it on the back too. So, see these aces that we cut up? We're just now going to cut up the other side. Do the same thing. So now that we've applied here, we want to place the back side of the aces onto this side. Like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you line that up?
What do you mean?
So, like, it's going to look like a spread from both sides.
Yes.
So you can show the fronts and
Exactly.
backs.
Yeah.
So how do you line up the backs to the fronts? Does that make sense?
No.
Like, how are you able to measure where they are?
Oh, by estimation.
Okay.
Yeah. I always estimate. I'll show you what I mean.
Okay.
Yeah. that. Perfect. All right. Now we have one more, of course. Split this one as well. So as you can see, now I'm lining up the 3 cards and making sure I avoid the little punched holes over there.
So you base it, the backs you base off the front
mid-
holes,
those are
just
front
like
holes.
you did the.
Exactly.
Okay.
So now, as you can see, I spread the aces like this, and when I show it to the back, see the 3 sides. It's perfect. Now you're gonna see it's warped. As you can see over here, it's very much warped. There's nothing you can really do about this except for have it in a card press or put 2 books together overnight, over a week even, to force the cards to come back to its natural state.
Okay.
That's what I've done, you know, to keep it like that. And now we thread it, just like always. So we take the thread.
Now, do you wait usually to thread it?
Nope, I thread it right away.
Thread it right away.
Yeah,
And then put it back.
Yeah, and then I put 2 books on top of it. So again, same thing. I'm doing double threading as always. Here, here, and I go through the hole. This and out the bottom side. That. Okay. Same thing. Now we just want to super glue it to the card. As you can see, as you've noticed, I never tie a knot.
Right.
Yeah, because when you tie the knot, it's not as effective for me. Again, there's a chance of, you know, the card failing.
Having the hole widen.
Having the actual knot like
untie.
Yeah, and that can be very bad. I've seen that happen many times to me. So I was like, you know what, never again. And then I decided to just
start gluing it.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna let this one dry for a while. Yeah. Back to this. Remember how we had the blank cards and the magnets?
Yeah. And you
Now we're gonna combine together again, because we're using rubber cement. Just make sure that it's very, very dry. Yeah. And also very perfect, because rubber cement dries perfectly fast. And I think I got it. Yes. Okay, good. Perfect. There you go. Now it's like a regular card. And you can sort of feel the magnets. The magician, of course, can feel the magnets, but...
It's so difficult too, though.
Yeah. It's nice, though, right?
It's very nice.
Yep.
Because when it's dry like that, you don't have to worry about globs going through or anything.
It's perfect. So this is the card that goes above the ace of spades. So it's very easy. All you do is you take the ace of spades, you take the 2 magnets, bloop, bloop, again, and you super glue it. It's very easy. Of course, I think other people's routines are going to be different. So that blank card could be hiding non-ace of spades. It could be hiding something else. You know, it could be vanishing something else. Okay, so now super glue this end. And we're about done. So once it's dry, we're gonna cut the thread, of course. And as you can see, of course, you know, the thread is white and the back design is blue. So we don't want the spectators to see that. We can actually take a blue Sharpie and dot the elastic thread. Yeah. As you can see, this is completely warped.
Right.
Yeah, this does not appear to be a single card, of course. But what we do, of course, we take a flat surface, yeah, a book or whatever, and then just lay it there overnight. Nice. And then the next day or next week, it should be completely straight.
I was gonna say, give it a few days to get the best results.
Especially the first day, the first time trying to get it together. After you reach that, you know, that time where it's completely flat and appears to be a card, then you don't have to worry anymore. Of course, after every performance, I have it in a card press, which I will show later. But yeah,
a card press is almost like a vice.
That presses
flat
the
surfaces.
Exactly.
That you just tighten in, and they close together.
You can get it at any store, any magic shop.
Really?
Yeah, any retail magic shop. Yeah, you can find it. It's pretty good. All right, so that is all the gimmicks for the 52 Shades routine. Let's get into the more in-depth detail of the other gimmicks that are just the extra gimmicks, I guess, that are included. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, welcome to the bonus section of 52 Shades. Now, this is not exactly bonus section. I just consider this outside of my routine. So everything that I'm going to teach you now, like the double flap or Picasso, these are just ideas that have kind of the same concept as 52 Shades, but they weren't put in my routine. So for example, this is Picasso, as you maybe have seen in the trailers, and then I'm actually using a different colored deck for explanation purposes, but the reason why I'm using a different colored deck is because I want to explain this gimmick here. So originally this was an idea inspired by Tom Elderfield. He came up to me and it was a little bit different. It didn't have to do with the back designs, it had to do with the fronts. So for example, the king, like this. He had a king over here, he took a random card and he would swipe inwards, and then the face would vanish. So essentially this piece right here, this gimmick that we're going to make, would slide into the hollowed card, and then thus the court card would vanish. But for me, I feel like that was ending dirty, or it just wasn't smooth enough for me, so I came up with this. Essentially what this is, we're going to create a hollowed card. You're not going to be able to see this on camera. If you can, then that's surprising. But there's a hollow area in here, which we slide this piece, this very thin piece, into it. Like this. So as you can see now, they're connected. And usually you have the deck of cards in your hands. You lift it up, and you just slide back like this. And as you can see now, this is the reason why this is such a great color change, is because, well, it's kind of like you're changing it halfway slowly. It's like the paintbrush change, but just a very slow version of the paintbrush change. So that is essentially it. This can be done surrounded. Just make sure when you're making the gimmick that the card kind of falls flat onto the card. This has been used maybe for 5 months so far, so it's kind of getting a little old. When you make a newer one, it looks much better, of course. But without any ado, let's get into the construction. You're going to need a very, very small needle. Not just small, but also very thin. So as you can see over here, I have an assortment of needles. This one is pretty thin as well and pretty small. This one as well is also thin and small. Okay, so these all work. You don't want something like this. This is quite thick. So you don't want that, because it needs to be able to clear the hole. So if it's too thick, it's not going to be able to do that. And then you're going to need to cut up 2 playing cards. Just the borders. So, as you can see over here, the borders, of course, is in white. You're going to cut up about this much of the borders and cut it around 3 ways, so you get rid of the bottom. So it kind of looks like this. Okay. We get 2 double back cards. You don't have to use 2 double back cards, just the 2 different colored cards. So for example, this was the Phoenix back over here, and on the other side was my Wrath deck. So for you, you can use bicycles or really you can use any back design. I'm just going to use bicycle for now. They don't also have to be double back, just different colored. Okay. Now we're going to grab our super glue, and I just dab it along the sides, and then I apply the borders onto it. So I'll show you what I mean. So watch this first. I apply the super glue onto the sides. There you go. And now carefully, very carefully apply the borders onto it. Make sure they're perfectly matched as well. You will get super glue on your hands, this is without doubt. There you go. So you got 1 layer. Now 1 layer may or may not be enough. I usually have 2 layers just to be safe, and so the card slides out easily. But again, if you add another layer to this, your gimmick card will be thicker, just naturally. So the more cards you add, the thicker it is. This one has 2. You can have 1, just 1 of these cutouts, but again, up to you. You can play around with it. I usually just go for 2 because on camera this looks fine. In person you can kind of tell it is a little bit thick. So it depends on what type of performance you're performing for. Once again, apply the border and be as accurate as you can. Be prepared to have water next to you to wash the glue off, because you are going to get glue on your hands. This is because of how intricate this is. I have tons of glue right now on my fingertips, but I'll wash it off later. So there you have it. You're creating a hollowed space for this border right over here. So this is the finished product right here. As you can see, we're creating the border for this right here, which is just the card. Now again, actually, if you notice, this is actually a wrath design, and it has little pointy diamonds right over here on either end. Don't use that. Make sure the back designs are perfect so that when you cover it, it actually covers fully. So as you can see, the diamonds are poking out. This was, again, this is a really old gimmick. This is actually my very first prototype that I ever made. So I apologize, before I said we were going to use a double facer to cover up this end. I was wrong. You want to use a random card to cover it up like this. So in this case, I'm going to use the Joker, and that way it looks like just a single card when they're glued up together. So grab your super glue. Make sure when you lay the ace, or whatever card you're using, make sure it's perfectly aligned. And in my case, it is. Perfect. So we have this, what we appear to be a single card, but not really, it's quite thick. Again, if you want to just use one border, this way it's only 3 cards thick as opposed to 4 cards thick, feel free to do so. There's no stopping you. It's just, I think it makes the card slide easily in and out from this cavity here. So you're just going to cut out just the borders. But leave the top border, because that's what's going to wrap around a miscellaneous card. So leave this top border. Take a random blue card. In this case, this is the random blue card. And essentially this is it. So I'm just going to do it without splitting the card at first. I'm just going to do it with a whole card. Like this. So it's coming out of this cavity like this and painting on to this blue border. But of course we want it to be very, very easy to pliable. So we want to split the card. And one more time, first finger down, 2 fingers, 3 fingers, and keep giving it support as you peel away from the topmost layer. So now I have this card. What we're going to do is, right now it's unfortunately kind of wrapping around like this because of the way we scored it. Because of the way we split it. So we're going to actually bend it back using the edge of the iPad. Now what you want to do is align it perfectly. So make sure the borders are matching exactly. Okay? Because if you tape it like this way a little bit or this way a little bit, it will flash. So make sure it's aligned perfectly, and we're going to use Scotch tape or some sort of invisible tape to tape this end to the back. So I have here some Scotch magic tape. It's kind of like an invisible tape. I actually recommend you get something a little bit thicker, and when I mean thicker, I mean wider than this. And you just tape it along the border. so. Snip off the excess remaining tape on both sides. This. And again, this part is very important. Make sure it aligns perfectly along the blue back. And then just enclose it once you're done. Or once you think you have it. So, I think I have it pretty good. So you notice what happens when you have the when we have the magnets attached to the card, it's going to look like this, right? But of course right now it's not magnetic. And that's what the needle is for. The needle we're going to place right over here, like this. And we're going to tape it and glue it at the same time. So I'm going to apply some glue, just very little amount. Don't put too much. If you put too much glue on the needle, what's going to happen is it's going to seep through the card and cause it to warp and look like it's obviously been drenched in something. So we just try to put a very little amount. And now just to cover it up completely, we just take some tape. This is just to protect the needle and at the same time protect you from stabbing yourself in the needle, because that can be dangerous. Cut off the excess tape. And we're almost done. What we're going to do now is to lay this flat on the card, take either 1 or 2 magnets, doesn't really matter, and we're going to place it right on the card because obviously, as you can tell, the magnets is going to what's caused it to stick to the needle. So I know the magnet is going to land around here. So I'll take the tape, I'll take some glue, dab it there. I'm going to use 2 magnets. Again, if you run out of magnets, you can always buy refills. They will be readily available. And because these are custom magnets, they do cost a little bit extra, more than regular magnets. So as you can see now, when I lay the card on, it sticks to the magnets on the back. So this is how it works. Now, my card is a little bit warped upwards because I haven't flattened it with a book yet. So you have to make sure you take a book and press it over a day so that it works kind of like what you saw in the trailer, and so it looks better. But I'll just show you kind of what it should look like. So that cavity that we made, we place it into that cavity like this, and all we're doing is we're just sliding it. Okay, so as you can see, it's a really beautiful brush change, almost like a slow motion brush change. It's flashing a little bit right now on the sides because of the warpage, but once we lay it flat on a book, it should be fine. Lay it around for maybe a couple of days. But as you can see, this is what it's supposed to look like from side to side, and you're just slowly pushing and pulling out the card. Also, another way to actually have this card not warp upwards is to continuously do this. This way you're constantly making the card bend concave, so this way it's like flatter. But in any case, this is Picasso. And on this side, to hide the magnets, all we do is to make it the same color as the whatever card we're changing it from. So this was blue, right? And we're changing it from blue to red, so that means this side needs to be blue, because then we're gonna do the routine that I showed in the trailer, where I showed the blue side, and then I changed it to red, and then from red to red. So let's get into that. It's very simple. All we do is we take rubber cement, apply it here, and we get a blue back card, apply it right on top. Now, this blue card, you can actually split and just have the top layer and place it onto here. This way it makes the card much, much thinner. You can choose to do that or choose to not do that and leave it just as a single card. It will make the card thicker, but it depends on your performance and your setting. So once the glue has dried, we're going to now combine these two cards together. Make sure, again, it's perfect. And there we go. So we have these two components when we're actually using this gimmick. To reset, of course, you place this into the hole, right? Place this thin card into there. And imagine this is a bicycle blue deck. This is Saturn's, but just have this in your hand, the blue deck, and this blue deck as well, like that. Okay? The reason why I have this is for explanation purposes. Now, what we're going to do here, this is just for my routine. Of course, you can manipulate this to however you want. I do a twirl change like this. So now I show the red side. So all I'm doing is I'm grabbing all the cards because they're connected with the thin card right here. Take the blue card, take all of it, twirl change. Now this is of course bicycle blue, so when you place this on top and now you lift up just with the hollow space inside, it's continuous, so it doesn't seem like anything changed. So for example, you show blue, turn to red, and when you lift it up, they see the same card, so it just looks like you're lifting up the same card. And then of course you do the color change, and then the entire deck turns red. Now how I do this is, of course, it's just one Saturn card is blue, the rest here is red. I just keep it like this in dealer's grip so that it doesn't flash. And so after I do the change, all I do is a block pushover, so the rest are red. Okay? So that is Picasso. Now you saw in the trailer there was a double flap color change, and it's very simple. So as you can see, this is what it looks like. It's just a flap on one side and a flap on another side. And you already know how to make a flap card, so just do exactly that, but you just combine it together. It's just two flap cards that have been glued together. It's actually extremely simple. But here's the handling. So you set up both flap cards already, so you activate both flap cards. Okay, so that when you release pressure, of course, they're going to change. I get into twirl position like this. All I'm doing is I'm releasing pressure, one hand. I do the twirl change, and I release pressure again. When I'm shaking it, it changes. And now I'm going to do the twirl change, of course, covering it with a shake, and then the last change. All right? So what's keeping these cards from flapping is my pinky and my thumb. Notice what happens when I release pressure from my pinky, right? And then of course I do the twirl change, and exact same thing. My thumb and my pinky is what's keeping this flap from not going. And now all I do is I release my thumb. One more time, I release my thumb, and it changes. Okay, so that's the double flap principle. So it's almost like a 3-card color change, if you will. And that's it. So here's that trick that I showed a misprinted card, and with a snap, it reprints itself, and now back to normal. It's very quick, very easy, it's very simple, really. And what this is just a regular card, just 2 chord cards, that's all it uses, and some elastic thread, and a little flap that goes around, and we're gonna make that right now. So this is what it looks like. In slow motion, it's just flapping around. Okay, you need 2 chord cards, preferably same color, and then you're going to need a double-backed card same color as the back design. So we're going to use a blue double back card. So the piece that is flipping around, so I'm going to rip this off now. The piece that's flipping around, that is the double-sided card. Okay, that's the double back card. And we're going to take the queen. As you can see on the jack over here, there's a cutout. So we're going to take the queen and we're going to cut that out as well. Okay, so let's just cut around the same amount. So I would have to say maybe around here like this. Doesn't really matter if it's exact or not. And we're just going to paste this on the other side. But we don't want to make it the thick card. We want to split it, make it a little bit thinner. So let's just split this queen, just the back. We're splitting just the queen layer. Get a solid surface for support and split away. Once you're done splitting, we're gonna just glue it onto here like this. I'm gonna use a glue stick. Paste it on. Queen of Spades. So it's like Queen of Spades over Queen of Spades, except on the back side it's only half, or 1/5. Make sure you glue everything down. Okay, perfect. Let that dry, because since you use a glue stick, that doesn't dry as fast, of course, as super glue or rubber cement, as you know. Now, while this is drying, we're gonna get a double-sided card, right? Double back, and we're gonna try to cut the exact amount that we have over here on the Queen of Spades. I think this one's good, but let me check anyways. There we go. So I think it looks pretty good, as you can see. Okay. So now what we're going to do, now that we've lined this up together, we're going to actually punch holes onto the court card. We're going to use this hole puncher, again like you've seen before, the very small one. If you don't, you take a needle and you punch it. Make sure you're holding it very square together. Okay. Make sure it's very squared. The reason if it's off center, then it's not going to look very good. So make sure it's very squared. And just punch alongside the two corners of the border. And done. So I have the corners punched. This. Now these holes are a little bit big for my liking, and so usually you can buy different sizes, so you can actually get smaller holes to punch, much like the size of a needle. So actually, if you use a needle, it would work perfectly. So now you grab a regular sewing needle, and we are going to thread. Your Prim elastic, again the link is in the PDF, or I'll put it here again. You can order it online or at a store. And we are going to thread now. Same technique, we use double threading. As you can see, threads running parallel. You go in one hole and out the other. And now we just, same thing, we don't tie a knot, instead we just super glue. So we take glue stick, and we glue the first end. That. And once the glue has dried over here, we will make sure of it. Yep, looks pretty dry. Take the other side and of course stretch and glue. Take a piece of playing card and just kind of make sure that the glue gets onto the thread. After you're done, you just cut off the excess thread, and voila, you're finished. So this is your gimmick. Of course, the thread is still there, it's flashing a little bit. You can actually use a blue Sharpie and just kind of dot where it's not supposed to be white. And the flap just goes right around through the back, as you can see. So you come up to the audience like this, you say, oh, you know, sometimes the US playing card company, you know, they screw up the printing processes, so as you can see, it's misprinted. So unless you do that, now it completely fixes itself. So that's the routine. That's of course a very small routine, and that's a very small idea. I know you guys can come up with other things. For example, imagine if instead of this showing a queen, this was showing a prediction, and then you can like maybe have the prediction vanish or have ink vanish or something like that. There's many different applications for this. It's very cool. Yeah, and that's it. So this is the color changing box. Now if you own the first 52 shades, you'll also see the color changing box, but it was done a little bit differently. And so this one can be done a little bit more surrounded. So you can show a red box like this, and as you spin it, now it turns blue. And then of course you take it out of the card case, and you can continue whatever card routine you want to do. So it's a quick little trick, color changing box, this time a little bit less angle sensitive, a little bit more practical, if you want to do it for walk around and stuff like that. So here it is. What it is, it's just a very simple gimmick here. I'm going to keep the cards back into the box. And as you can see over here, it's a flap that goes around to the corner. And when you complete it, it turns blue on the other end of the flap. So my thumb is what's hiding that extra blue end. Of course, ignore the bottom and the top. This is covered by the card clip. This idea was given to me by Nevin Sanchez on Facebook, so thank you very much. And yeah, so here we go. Let's get into the construction for this. You're going to need just a regular torn up bicycle box, so you don't have to really care about that. And then you're going to need a red bicycle box as well. This one does not have to be in good condition, but the box that you do want to be in best condition is a new bicycle blue deck. So this is a completely brand new blue bicycle deck. So just take out the cards, I guess, and don't throw it away, just use it for later. So you begin by taking the red deck, this. We're going to be making this flap here, like this. We're going to be cutting up the front end of the box as well as the right side, sorry, the left side, where it says card company. Okay? So take your scissors. You don't need that. This, so again, that's the front side. cut up the corners, this, and complete the cut. What's going to happen now is we're going to combine these two flaps together like this. As you can see, this is how these two are connected. Okay, and we can kind of notice how we're going to complete it here, here, like this, right? And then it's going to flap around. So just split this layer up into half. I believe boxes, they don't have 3 layers. I think they just have 2 or 1, or I don't know. I don't really know. So I'm just going to split it. And then we're going to glue it. So we're just going to glue these 2 areas together. This. Glue it up. And we fold it over to see if it works. As you can see, it matches. Just gonna glue it some more. And now on this end, when it completes and flaps over, that's going to be a blue deck. So we're going to take this broken up piece right here. Now the colors actually aren't going to match right now. So preferably you want to get the same colored blue. Unfortunately, the bicycles, they keep changing their shade of blue. So right now I have a lighter shade that I'm supposed to. But this is a tutorial. I'm not going to use this for performances. This is just for explanation. So it'll work just as well. So now we're going to paste this onto this flap like this. So that, as you can see, when it flaps over, like that, of course it turns blue, as you can very well tell. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use rubber cement to join these 2 pieces together. Now for this part, you don't actually need to use magnets, but I like magnets, so I'm just going to use a magnet. I use magnets every chance I get. So now that it's dried, you're going to combine the 2 pieces together. Make sure that these are the same, same orientation, of course. There you go. Just like this. So what's going to happen is it's going to flap around like that. Now we want to paste this onto a blue box. So this is the blue box we're using. Of course, as you can see, the colors don't match. Make sure they do. And all we do is we just glue on this side onto here. So you take some super glue. I think I put a little bit too much, but paste it on, and like this. So now you're having a little bit of the basic idea of what it's going to look like, right? And of course the front and the back is going to be covered by the card clip. And now we need to apply the magnets onto this side. So we just grab another magnet, and when it flaps around, that's where it's going to magnetize, as you can see, the magnet over there. So we know where the magnet's going to be. We just put a little dot of super glue. Let it go. Now there's 2 choices you can do. One choice is you don't have to put the elastic thread onto here, because technically with gravity you can cause the flap to go anyways. But with elastic thread you can actually let go and the elastic thread will bring it around automatically. And so now I'm going to teach you how to apply the elastic thread onto here. And it's very simple. It's the principle is always the same when it comes to flap cards, or at least with the 52 shades principle. We're going to punch 2 holes. Just like so. So you can see, hold it right there. Get the elastic thread, needle, double loop it, this parallel line, go in one hole and out the other. Now we're just going to actually glue it onto the box. So we're just going to glue it onto this end right here. And this glue is not the fast drying glue, so we're going to have to wait for a little bit for it to dry. Once it has dried, cut off the excess thread. Place the needle back. And voila. Now as you can see, it automatically flaps around because of the elastic thread. So you can hold the box inside of the card case. You can hold it like this in mechanics grip. And as you can see now, the flap's going to go automatically. You can do this by tossing the card case onto the table nonchalantly and snap, and now it has changed colors. Okay, so that's it. That is the color changing box for the second edition of 52 Shades. So here is the version where the packet of cards seemingly turned into a single blue card. And this is what the gaff card looks like without it being prepped. As you can see, they're all separated right now. What we're going to do now is we're going to actually combine them together with the elastic thread. Okay, so kind of similar to a flap card, but different in its own way. So you grab your elastic thread and your needles, and you should be set to go. So we're in this position like this. Okay, we want to connect the two angels together from all the cards. All right, I have this over here, a blank maiden backed playing card. Of course, it's included inside the gaff deck. You can purchase a full deck of maiden cards, and actually I do recommend you do that anyways, because it just makes things easier, and in case you do mess up or you do need a refill of a back design, you can just grab those as well. But I have included enough for you to use throughout all the routines if you so desire to make these different gaff cards. So you grab your hole puncher. Again, this is the small one. You can use a needle as previously described, and just go ahead and punch on the two corners of the angel. Okay, it doesn't exactly matter where, but you notice where I'm punching it. It's where there's a lot of design and complication. That way, even if they try to spot where the hole is, they can't really see it. Okay, of course it's quite obvious here and here, but they're never gonna see this area. Now that I've punched the holes, what I'm going to do now is grab the elastic thread, get a good amount. This is all about estimation really. I have here maybe about 12 inches worth of elastic thread. Grab a needle. We're going to do the same thing of double threading. So once you have the needle double threaded, we're going to go in from the top, through the bottom, back up to the top, and much like the flap card, we're going to glue it down from this angel to this angel. Okay, so grab your super glue. And I just glue it down onto that angel. Notice the way I am positioning the thread. I'm having them align along with the design. As you can see, the design has sort of a white line, so it kind of camouflages the thread in a way to make it hide better so that they can't really see. In case it does flash, they think maybe it's part of the design. So you wait for this to dry. So this end has finished gluing and finished drying, so now we're gonna grab the other end over here, as you can see, and I'm gonna pull as tight as I can. Not super tight, but fairly tight, because we want to have the thread be pretty secure when it comes to squaring up 3 cards. Usually you're only using it to square up 2, this time we're squaring up 3, so it's quite a lot of cards actually, so you want to make it fairly snug and fairly tight. And then we glue that down. Now we wait for that to dry as well. So as you can see with the specific lighting I have, you can see the 2 threads very easily. Of course I have one directional lighting, which you would rarely have in a performance. When you have a regular performance with lighting all around, it's going to be pretty hard for you to flash the thread. Then again, you're performing for lay people, so they won't really know that it's thread. They'll just think it's part of the design. Again, as long as you follow these white borders. Okay, so now that the glue has finished drying, as you can see, when I let go of the packet, the multiple cards seemingly join up together to become one. Now, in the trailer you saw, I actually flipped over the card, so it turned into a blue card. You don't have to do that. I mean, you could actually just go, watch, I have a packet of cards, and then you let go, and then it turns into a single card. Now what you could do, actually, which is really cool, if you have a blue maiden deck, this is of course the GAF deck, but let's just pretend it's a blue deck for the sake of this tutorial. You can actually spread out, since you only have one packet over here like this, give the illusion like you have multiple cards, or a lot of red cards. You close it up like this, so you show all the red cards like this, right? And you have one regular maiden red back right there. Now you close it all up, you can grab it all as one, do the twirl change, okay, and after you do the twirl change, let me get rid of that extra thread. After you do the twirl change, you show the cards like this to show many red cards. Alright, you close it all up, do the twirl change, and then you snap your hands, and it changes into a seemingly blue deck of cards. So that's the more practical walk-around version. Of course, you can always do what I did in the trailer, which is a little bit more visual. It may be a little bit better only for the camera, but still, both versions are pretty visual. So there it is. It's pretty cool. Play around with it. Yeah, it's a pretty neat effect. So that's it. So you'll see in your GAF deck this little strange looking miniature card with the Riot gimmick printed out on it, as well as the a regular maiden back design. This was invented by Chris Severson. He designed all of this for me, so thank you, Chris. Here we go. So in order to prep this gimmick, you gotta be very careful. It's not that hard, but if you mess up, then you kind of gotta buy another gaff card if you want to do this trick. It's pretty cool though. You're going to score along the line of the top, okay, the very top like this. So just carefully score it. If you want to grab a ruler, you can use that too. I've been scoring all my life, so I'm pretty fluent at it. And as you can see, I now scored both ends, top and the left side. Okay. Grab scissors, and we're going to cut. Like that. So now as you can see, it's completely cut. And now we're going to score this last side right here. So this creates a bend here, a bend here, a bend over here, but this part is completely cut off. It's the top left hand side, in case you're wondering. Right? So this is what gives the illusion of a mini deck, a miniature sized deck, like that, as you can see. My thumb is covering this little flashing corner like this, so that doesn't flash. And whenever you want to turn it into the big card, you turn your hand over. These two hands pull back to keep it straight, to make it look like a straight card when it's really curved. So one more time, you're gonna pull back, and these two fingers are gonna like buckle the card outwards. Okay. So I'll do it one more time. You're holding the card like this, and now you flip it over to show the single card. And you have to do it very quickly. So this is about speed. The faster you go, the more impressive it looks. Okay. So small card into the big card. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, just remember to buckle the card and to keep it bent. Because if you don't have any strength into the card, as you can see, you can already see that starting to bend. So if you bend it over like this, you can see now, as you can see, now you have full control of the card. So now it doesn't look like it's has any scores in it. But yeah, that's it. That's the miniature card to large card effect by Christopher Severson. Okay, so welcome to the vanishing box. This actually uses a regular box, and it's gonna have to also use some black crushed velour paper. This is actually adhesive velour, and you can get it at highgloss.com. I'll have it written out for you right here. And all that it is, it's just black paper or black felt that has sticky material on the back. That's pretty much what it is. So let's get into it. You're going to need your scissors, box, and glue, and of course some of the velour. Now we want to cut the bottom portion. So after you cut out the bottom portion, it should look something like this. Now we want to actually glue this portion to these tabs right over here. So just cut off the front tab like that, and now we're gonna glue these tabs to the front end of the box. So after it has dried, as you can see, it's fully dried. This is what's going to happen. We are going to actually black art this entire inner area with the velour, the sticky velour that we have. Because when we show the box in the front, what's going to happen is we're going to back palm it, and that portion all in here is going to be black, and that will kind of hide it within the mat. Now, this one has some lighting conditions, of course. This is the old version. The newer version, as you saw in the trailer, not in the trailer, sorry, my live performance was Gone deck, and that will be a separate release. That is a rather good deck vanish, but this one is also pretty good in its own right as well. So anyways, grab the velour, and we're going to cut that up and stick it onto here. So you begin by taking out about half of the velour, like this, and we're going to stick it all along the sides, like this. Okay, so as you can see, it's more or less, it's not perfect because we're going to just cover up the areas later, the imperfect areas. So as you can see, I trimmed out all the excess black velour that I had. Now we want to cover up the sides a little bit since we're actually back palming this thing, so we're going to need to cover up the side and the side. I'm going to get a long strip. And then cut this in half. And you want to stick these to the sides of the box. So as you can see, I did the velour all over the card. However, we're not done yet. We actually want to Sharpie those white borders because they kind of flash. So just take a Sharpie and color it black so that they don't flash when you do the back. There you go. Now after you finished Sharpieing everything, and there you go. Everything should more or less be black, so when you back palm you can just kind of check to make sure every area is colored black. So if you notice, I'll get a black background. This isn't actually crushed velvet at all, but when you check it out and you kind of test it out to see if it is indeed black. So all you do is you obviously just do a back palm, and then the deck vanishes. So that is pretty much it. And all it is you back palm, so it vanishes, and you go back, you slide back, and it ditches into the Cervant, as you could hear just now. So that's it. That's the deck vanish. Now you notice in the trailer there was one part where I showed multiple cards, and then all of a sudden I squared it up like this. And when I tossed it, it turned into what seemed to look like diamonds. What they weren't actually diamonds, or they weren't pieces of the card. It was actually confetti. In this case, I had red confetti. This is just regular snowstorm, ultimate snowstorm. You can get this at your magic shop, or you can get it other places. I chose to use red. Of course, I used red mainly because the back design is red, so I thought it was fitting. And the only thing I did was just black arted this area. So of course you've seen the previous versions in my routine where I showed you how to use the 3M spray, and you spray it on the back of the playing card along with the black velvet. Do the exact same thing, except this time you just have the snowstorm in your hands. Now when you first get the new one, as you can see over here, when you get a new packet like this, they come in these bunches, and you actually can get them in a little packet that's much smaller than this. I just crushed it up like this. Okay, it just makes it a little bit more messy. However, when you have it bunched up, it's easier to palm. So there's that too. What happens is I'm going to show the packet like that. Now I'm going to close it up, and I'm going to square it up, and I'm going to quickly wrist kill, drop the card. Now for explanation purposes, this is not black arted, so you can see it clear as day. Of course, I also don't have a mat. It's just a wooden table. But I wrist kill, and as I wrist kill, I let go of my fingers and my hands, and I let go of I essentially throw and toss the diamonds onto the table. And this is actually pretty good misdirection because when they're looking at the diamonds, they don't really focus on anything else, really. So even let's say your lighting conditions aren't perfect, the black art actually manages to conceal itself quite well. So yeah, that's my take on the on a vanishing card, multiple vanishing card.